Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever it is, wherever you are, and welcome to Evolve Quest Radio, and welcome to the Round Table, Legal Name Fraud, Exposure, Legal Name Fraud 101, whatever the heck you want to call it. It's just this sort of gathering place where we come to hang out. I'm your host, me, but you already knew that, didn't you? I don't like to spare on the introductions, not even on the other show, but how's everyone doing tonight? I got a few people on the board right now.
Hi, Luca.
Hello? Hey, how's it going?
Perfect as usual. Perfect.
You're a little low on the volume. I don't know why, but I just thought I'd let you know. But now to play radio host. If you want to call in from a cell phone or landline, the guest call-in is 619-924-0692. And if you want to get in through Skype, the BTR listener number is 021. I know, I got it right when I got on live. I try and get it out there as possible. But, yeah, welcome to the table, people. It's great to be back. I don't get to spend much time at these tables anymore, but it's so great to have this station as an opportunity for me to not only get to come to one of these tables, but host one of these tables and share this message far and wide. I'm excited to get on the show, but more importantly, I'm excited that the legal name is fraud and that legality is not reality. It's a very simple thing, and it's exciting because it gives you a whole world of possibilities. But, Skrull, you want to take the helm for a minute? I just want to get my headphones set up.
Any problem, it's right, it's illegal to use a legal name, but it seems to be quite a difficult concept to get over to Facebook, who managed to block me from a secondary Facebook page today, which I'd set up because they're trying to close down my Scrally Over page, or some people might know as Scrally Mover. But it seems a bit a hard concept for some people to get a grippy, but it's pretty simple. I mean, if you go to katiegaia.wordpress.com and read Babylon's Fallen, and then if you don't want to believe that, then go to Crime Copyright in the Information Age, page 29 or 30, depending on what device. I notice sometimes the different pages come up differently depending on device. And that's obviously at legislation.gov.uk. But how people can't get that when it comes to the people at Facebook who think they can shut people's accounts down in the guise of a robot, where we all know that some individuals pressing the button at the end of the day, to cut these pages down because they're demanding legal names, which is just quite ridiculous considering it's Crown copyright. It's clear to be seen, it's as clear as day. They gave me 7 days they told me they would shut my page down in 7 days if I didn't give them my identification. I've tried and tried and tried to contact them through so many different means. I cannot get a voice on the telephone, and they're refusing to call me. I've sent them a number in many different places through Facebook. They're refusing to contact me, obviously, because the truth's the truth. And, them asking for legal names is aiding and abetting people into a fraud, because that is Crown copyright in the legal name, But aye. What's you,
But, no, I actually think it's really weird that it's happening to so many people and not others, because, I deleted my Facebook account that was attached to the legal name just as another way of cutting ties. But then I made this account that I use now, the one Luca, and I've never had a problem with it, and I've changed the name on it a few times. It wasn't exactly how it was now, and they've never asked me. It's weird that, some people are having so many problems with it. People have had accounts shut off entirely. But it was funny what happened to Kai on Facebook. It's Kai, no legal name, Taylor. And he just sent them a single picture talking about the legal name fraud, and they opened back up his account. It only took him the 7 days, but it's weird how some people have so many problems. just another anagogic of seeing how no one's experiences are going to be the same. You know, I can experience the legal name fraud happen in this way, but someone else could have it totally different. We have to see and understand why. Why is it different for us? What do we have to learn from these things differently?
Yeah, well, I mean, all you can do is give them the truth, and when the truth's passed to them and they decide to still take pages down, then, I mean, that's it's not for us to guess why some people have been taken down and others are not. But it's to probably conclude that they will all go down again at some point or another. I mean, I've had the Scrally Mover page I've got for years. It's never had a legal name on it. So, you know, because, you know, why they choose to take it down, God knows. But at the end of the day, I don't really care, to be honest with you. I couldn't care less. But it's a fact, though, that they're aiding and abetting people into fraud by asking them for a legal name in the first place.
Well, it's what demons do, eh? You know, that's this whole thing. They're trying to call some people out. But it's okay, because truthers out there are so unyielding about this stuff, and it doesn't matter how many accounts you shut off, because just as many accounts will be turned back on the next day.
Well, that's right. Yeah, there's no holding back the truth, is there?
No, it's sort of like when a dam breaks, you kind of just can't stop it. Waters of truth coming down, you know, you can't really help it. It's this whole thing that once something's revealed, you can't put it back. You know, Pandora comes out of the box, she doesn't go back in, that kind of thing. Once something's revealed, you can't just go back to the way things were. That's called ignoring it. That's called ignorance. And that hasn't been serving us for a long time now. So I say cut the ignorance, step into that state of acceptance, of switching the whole script from getting caught in these things and saying like, oh, well, that's bad. I don't like that in my reality, so let's push it out of here. I just want to keep doing things this way. You can change it around completely by simply saying, hear that first subtle thing, that breathing, and then say okay. It's as simple as that. Saying okay is an admission of letting go of things that no longer serve you without ignoring them and without stepping into that mindset of ignorance. That's putting you back into the Piscean mindset, the believe, I don't believe, that kind of thing, getting caught in ideals like legality.
That's right. And once you know the truth, you can't then deny the truth, you know, once you know it. So you don't deny the truth and go back to being a liar. It's just not even possible, is it? Because once you know, that's the thing. So, I mean, you either know or you don't know. Once you know the truth, you know it. You're not going to turn back and be a liar, are you? So it's quite ludicrous. But it'll all come out in the wash, all this carry on. But Facebook have got themselves in a funny, a bit of precarious situation in their actions that they're having, and I'll just leave it at that.
Well, you know, on top of just letting them know about the legal name fraud, we should also tell anybody who's having this problem with Facebook, also let them know to their position of aiding and abetting you to commit fraud. Once you flip the script on them and you say, like, oh, we're going to need this, we need your legal name, and you say, well, no, I need you to stop because it's a crime in doing so. You're aiding and abetting me to commit fraud. You are committing crimes against humanity. It's as simple as that, because in connection with the legal name is everything. You know, the birth certificate bonds fuel our entire fictional debt system. That's why the debt system is nonsense. You know, it's paper. Like just like the whole system, it exists in the minds of men. That I laughed so hard when I really realized how easy, how like mind-numbingly stupid that system is. You know, it's just numbers on a screen. They're just moving numbers from one place to the next. You know, that's all it is in modern day terms. It's just accounting nonsense of moving digital icons, idols on a screens bouncing back and forth. You know, there's no actual value being traded. It's just a fictional value set on a concept of the birth certificate, of the tie that ties you, the living being, the being, not the idol, the name, to the entire system. And it's doing that through a number of ways, mainly your consent to be it, because all of the literal connections are inconsequential compared to the to the ones you can't see to the ones in your mind. That's where the real program was laid down in the mind. It was the brickwork to do it in the physical, to get it done in the mental and spiritual when you're looking at it from this perspective. I'm trying to take apart the programs for seeing them for what they are and not what they appear to be. Flip things in the mirror. It'll show you a lot. If someone's giving you a specific attitude, flip it around on them. If, I heard someone talk on one of these round tables at I don't know which show it was, maybe it was GNIP or maybe it was Outside the Box, but the guy said he was being having all these problems with these cops, so he took the role of parrot to their pirates and just actively saw that. They realized how ludicrous and how to check itself, before someone makes a crazy action. If you flip it around on them, flip the script, so to speak, it's another domino effect, just like the domino effect of putting the word out. When you flip the script and start exposing these programs for what they are and showing them that, everything's an opportunity. So when being harassed by cops and by the pirates, by the policy enforcers, by the corporate, whatever the heck you want to call them, that can be an opportunity to teach, because those are the most indoctrinated of us. The people who are caught this, I don't like to think about us against them, because even it's just like a form of duality, but in some senses it is. But you have to realize that they are us too, because they're just other beings who have just been so indoctrinated that they actually think they're doing the right thing. See, that's how clever this program is. They flipped everything upside down and backwards, so much so that the people in obvious wrong actually can believe they're doing the right thing. And with that, I'm going to mute my mic for just a second, if you want to take the helm.
Any bother at all. Anybody want to jump in? Anybody on the board there want to jump in? Oh, but well, that's all right enough what you're saying there. Your mic was, your audio was breaking up a wee bit at the beginning of what you were saying there, but kind of most of it got through, so that's the main thing as usual. But it's quite funny that for Facebook to asking legal names on the reason that they're asking them is because they're declaring it's a deception to other people to not know who you really are, which is really just ridiculous, because nobody is really a legal name. That's the thing at the end of the day, and it's coming from complete ignorance on one hand, and on the other hand, it's coming from complete complicity. Because I've sent them so much information, I've sent them so many written words I've written myself, and I've sent them so much information that there's no denying it. But I've well warned them at the end of the day that if the Scrari over page does go down, that I will sue them, and it'll be the person that presses the button, because as per usual, they like to act like robots and send all this nonsense out, but you don't actually get an individual, so it's like nobody's putting their hand up to be accountable for what's actually happening, They can threaten you like to close down pages, but at the end of the day, if pages do go down, it takes a human, it takes an individual to actually press the button and cut you off, But Facebook's name is Mud. But it's all it is, isn't it? It's complicity all the way. Once you're aware of the information, it's complete complicity, and there's no two ways about it. Are you back again, Luca?
Yeah, sorry. I just for some reason I think my phone was lagging just a little bit. I couldn't unmute my mic, but yeah, there's no matter what sort of action is being done on paper, there is a being on the other end, acting it out. The judge is playing a role. So the people on Facebook, they're they're testing everybody right now. They're trying to see who's going to give in to the pressure, and that's what these kinds of demons do. They're always going to be trying to get separating the wheat from the chaff, and that's what we're doing too. We're separating those in the system who are truly willing to be free, because you have to be free. You can't have freedom. It's something you are. It's something you be. It's not something tangible like we were thought to believe. Everything was about the shiny things, but that's another point. What I was saying is that there's all these connections that happen when playing a certain role. Like right now, I'm playing the role of the messenger because I'm just being a voice to share this message, this truth, this download of the legal name fraud, and why it is so important, why it was the trap. But what I'm really trying to say right now is the programs we see are constant, just actors on a stage. It's just roles being played. The judge is playing the role of the vicarious devil in the situations of the courtroom. Because we talked about this on the last show. That all things legal are rites, are rituals. That in those rituals you can see these priests and priestesses playing out these games of judgment, of trying to get people to stand up. It's the same thing happening in the world right now with people's Facebooks being shut down. It's plenty trying to see who's really got stuff. Just the same as us. This is a message from both ends, from the game that they're playing with all the programs, and then creation stage, sort of cosmic game being played that we are the real creators of, because we've taken that role. We've stepped outside of the role of their idols in the legal world and can move things into the real world now, which is really our projection of it, because it's not so simple once you decide, all right, I'm not going to be told anything anymore. I'm going to know it for myself. That puts you in the position of creator, because you now have the contrast. It's to find out who you are. You look to what you're not and start from there, because it's the only real way we can see things in the first place. You need the contrast. White doesn't look so light unless it's compared to black. That's duality. You can't have one without the other. And in seeing that contrast, it puts us all in the position of creator, because now we can see it for what it really is, and that's perception. That's part of being an actual being, and living in this state of consciousness where we've stepped out of control programs, because control programs were really only put there for one reason, and that's expansion, so that our energy, instead of going to our own consciousness and to our own reality, our own projection, it would be feeding something else. It works like a proxy thing. It's that by proxy connection, not a tangible connection, but by let's say a jump connection, because they jumped that connection via deceived intent and coercion. It didn't seem like anything happened when the birth certificate was made, but something really important was happening there, and nobody saw it. It was a magic trick. It was a little sleight of hand, and that's proxy. It's moving indirectly from one thing to the next. So in seeing this indirect connection, we were just to take our energy, because we were the real dictators of where it was going.
You're breaking up quite badly.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
It's because how much did that cut through? It's just like where I am outside.
Most of it got through, but it's just the last time I never said anything. Went on for a fair wee bit on and off, but it was clear last time you spoke, so all things are a reason, innit?
Yeah, I know sometimes that like it's raining by me. That always has problems with my internet connection. I'm on Skype right now. I moved away from the landline because I'm having a cigarette. But yeah, as long as you get the simple point that legality is not reality, then all this other stuff flows into place. I'm just talking about these concepts because these are the concepts we have to play around with. But it's simple. The legal name is fraud.
That's right, and it's not you, it's not us, it's not anybody. It's on a register, it's on a piece of paper. Nothing to do with us at all, whatsoever. Much as Facebook would like to think it is. I'll just say the BTR listener 021, maybe somebody I know pops on to the show today, so I'll just say that BTR listener 021 a few times, so as if they actually get the thing where they can call in. But you always end up with loads of people on the board and nobody wants to speak, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes I just have to get in here and just keep rambling all day because people get on the board and don't always want to chime in. But it's nice to get this interaction. That's why this is a roundtable. I'm going to check the board right now to open any mics.
Yeah, that's right, though, and it is important that we get all these other views because, variety is the spice of life, isn't it? So the more the merrier.
Yeah, this is something I think about all the time, is that we will repackage this same message as many times and with as many voices as we need to really get the point across. It's as simple as that. We don't have any new people on the board, but everyone who is here, all the mics are open. But, yeah, the legal name is fraud. It's a crime to use it. It puts you in a position of schizophrenic and puts you into the role of the idol, into that state of consciousness of a paper doll, a statue. That's why statutes affect you, because they're statues. The kind of, it's the world of the dead, for putting it in the simplest of terms that I can. It's the world of the dead. It's sort of a zombie world where everybody...
It's just downright slavery, isn't it? It's really what it is.
Yeah, it's such a easy thing to get caught up in, because of all the shiny things. I was saying before that we're always taught to make every form of victory and success come with some form of tangible thing. Well, in looking for tangible things, really look for a vivid thing you can vividly experience, like the freeing from controls once you break those programs in your head, because you can vividly experience the after effects from how the system will treat you after you've broken those controls in your own head. It's an effect.
Yeah, and you get treated with respect. That's
exactly.
What happens when you realize it and you let them know that you realize you get treated with respect. That's exactly what happens. And as you say, we're just messengers. There's nothing. We're not teaching anybody anything. We're just passing on the message. That's really all we are, messengers. And the more people we pass it on to, then the more messengers there are at the end of the day, Aye, but if the seal of God pops up on your Skype board there, that'll be a friend of mine who said he'd call in today if he got round to it. I sent him a link to the show before the show. But aye, that's the thing though. It's just really just slavery. It's theft of your soul. They're stealing the very soul, the very spirit from you. To make you feel so insignificant and make you feel that you're a piece of paper. It's so ludicrous. It's ridiculous, really. But we need to remember that our parents and grandparents and great-great-grandparents and so on have been under the exact same spell or illusion, and to think that you are a legal name and think that you are a bit of paper is a complete delusion in itself. I mean, it's just completely a delusion. So as soon as you're aware of that, and as soon as you realise that you're a living being, you know that you can't be controlled. You have self-determination. You have free will, and that's what's taken away from you when you become a legal name and think that you're something that's written on a piece of paper, i.e. getting a letter from any supposed authority with a name written on top of it, and to realise that you are reading the letter and that it is not you, regardless of what's written on it. You know, and this is the distinction between it, you know, seeing that you're actually the living spirit, and that your spirit's been trying to be stolen from you, you know. So it's the only way we can set ourselves free from that system, really, is the main step to make, is to realise that we're not a legal name. That's a name that was created on a birth certificate, which has nothing whatsoever to do with any of us, because we weren't conscious enough at that point to even understand it, you know. And of course, when you get to 16 years old, I mean, it's funny, we always say the same things, though, but when people do turn up, get to 16 years old, and they want to apply for anything, I mean, all forms of identification are fraud. You know, they're all impersonating fiction, you know, to have a passport or a driving license or this or the next thing, because none of these things are needed. You only need these things if you're a legal name. But if a 16-year-old grows up and wants a passport, or they want a driving license or this or that, the very first thing those so-called authorities ask them for is a birth certificate, to draw them into the fraud, you know, to further cement the illusion that it is actually them, that fictitious piece of paper, that name that's been partially created by the parents and partially created by the state. It's downright deception and fraud, isn't it? And it's as simple as that. I mean, it's actually crimes against humanity when it really comes down to it, because, I mean, to psychologically torture people, physically torture them, and all these other things, they have to have a legal name first. So they get you believing that you're a legal name. They can do what the hell they want to you. As long as you think you are it, it will continue, you know. So the only freedom and the only free will that you'll have is to step back from it and to realise that it's not you. You know, go to kategaya.wordpress.com, read Babylon Has Fallen. There are plenty of other things to read there. But anybody with any semblance of sense at all, or awareness, that reads Babylon Has Fallen, the first 2 paragraphs is enough. It's ample, it's perfectly enough. And any idiot like Facebook, or any idiot that's wearing a funny costume as a policeman, or anybody in any form of authority, they just have to go to legislation.gov.uk. Their own fucking rubbish tells them, you know. So I mean, it's no secret, this, and it's no rocket science, you know. It's simple all the way. Be your own self and control your own self, and be your own free determination. Can use your own free will. Stand up for yourself and don't be told what you can and can't do, because no one has a right to tell anybody what to do. You know, nobody. You know, we did ourselves what we do. You know, whether it be right or wrong, then, you know, those are just really experiences. They're not right or wrong. They're just experiences, and we learn lessons for these experiences. And the more lessons we learn, you know, the more grounded we are, and it's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, only someone that has authority over you, if you allow yourself to be under their authorship, if you allow them to be the author of your own life, and that happens if you're a legal name in the registrar's book. You know, it's a book, and that's why they have authority, because they're the authors of said book. But
they have authority over bits of paper.
Yeah, you know, they have authority over the paper dolls. They can tell whatever story they want in their paper fiction, but they can't tell the real story. That's creation story, and that's the story we tell at these tables, because this is people's actual experiences. You know, it's telling this from my perspective is what I found from research myself. So it was pretty easy. I lined it out really easily at lucidname.com. It answers most of the literal questions anybody has right off the bat. What I do with mail, the usual kind of old programs that we have to break free from. And then you figure it out from there, because it's not an exact science of losing the name. It's just a state of mind, a state of being, of seeing the overlap of the system to reality, and seeing that like there are people, real beings, however indoctrinated, acting out roles in the system, and in that aspect, there's that overlap, because the real beings are there playing the roles of the system. And so when you're dealing with the system, remember to deal with the being and not the paper doll. Just talk to them as a human. It's not an exact science, like I was saying, but once you've stepped out of that role, you can make reality whatever you want, and that's a pretty magical thing, if you ask me.
Well, that's right. And all the system, the governments, all these things, they're all dead, completely dead entities. They do not exist. They're all fictions. And the only people you ever come across are people that are representing it, someone that works there, So this is the thing. When you passing this message on, you are passing it to individuals. You're not speaking to a dead entity. You're speaking to someone that's standing there representing the system or the government, and those are the ones that need educated, because the more they're educated, the better. And the less people pay into this system by paying mortgages every month, which are all complete frauds. Everybody that pays insurance into cars, which is another complete fraud. Anybody that pays any of these things into the system is the only reason that these people are actually turning up to work in the first place. They wouldn't be there otherwise. If we didn't take part in it, it would just disappear completely. And this is the thing, it's hanging on by its skin of its teeth at the moment, because so many people have awoken to this, so many people have awoken to the fact that they're not a legal name, and they're not a Crown copyright and written bit of paper. Remember that Crown copyright also controls your body as well. It's physically taking your body as well, because the copyright is, whether it's a book or a song or whatever it might be, it's not the title, as we all know, that's copywritten. So, i.e. the name, it's the body of the works, and you're the body of the works of a legal name, So you can steal a copyright for somebody by stealing the name of the title of a song or a book, but and that's fine. But if you're to reproduce all the identical body of the works, then of course that's the infringement there, you see. And the infringement with all of us is to fall into that trap in the first place, thinking that we are a copyrighted legal name, and then to give away our power just in that act of thinking it is you.
Yeah, it's as simple as that act in your mind, because before the action ever took place, the thought happened, there was the intent, and that's what they're really looking for. It's your intent, because that's your energy. It's putting it out there into their system of control, putting your energy into the name of the birth certificate and not using it to destroy the system from within. It's simply feeding the system and feeding the Whore of Babylon, the dead entity conglomeration of other legal names, perpetuating the entire collective system. It's a trap for everybody and nobody, if you really see it for that, because once we've stepped into this role of moving out of the system, for however we need to do that, because it's not a game of how, it's a game of why. Why are we trying to divest in the system? It's because its entire construct is based on fraud and lies and deceit and crimes against humanity and slavery and just all the nasty things of the satanic, Luciferian, whatever the heck you want to call that, if you want to use those words, construct, the system, the empire, is solely based off your intent to connect yourself to it. Because they need that intent.
Well, that's right. And that's a funny thing. They can always turn around and say, "Well, you did it yourself because you consented to it in the first place," as if as if that's okay, But if you're anybody that's contributing into the system, and you're just as guilty for all the paedophilia in the system, and bombs that are going around killing people left, right, and center, the bullets that are going around killing people left, right, and center. They were all party to all of that by recognising the system at all and by helping it stay afloat, because it is dead and it doesn't exist, and it's controlled by a very select few, who, the system's dead and it deals in death. It's quite clear that to see for anybody really. So, why anybody would want to go there, I have no idea, but you can only be through a delusion, As soon as you're aware of it, then anybody with any decency would step back from that right away and realise that it's wrong and it's not the best thing to do, So, to be part of it is to be complicit in it, To contribute to it is to help it, is to sustain the problem, is to enslave all the children that are being born today. It's all perpetration, isn't it?
Yeah, and now we can start putting our energy into other things. Start putting your energy into your life outside of the system, into your own growth, into whatever sort of literal exit strategy you want to take, if you want to put it in that terms. But because leaving the system is not an exact science, like I keep saying, simply because we each have to find our own path and do what we think is right. Like I said before, creation's playing this great cosmic game that we're all actors in, and as part of creation we chose these roles, so choose whichever role you fit, and in being the nameless we can be all roles. So choose whatever role you need to be, mirror whatever role you have to in whatever situation is right for you. Find your own path in living outside of this matrix, and keep learning, because there's always new things out there. When I first started learning about this stuff, almost over a year ago now, I was also just reading about people who had been living outside of the system without this information, people who had just decided to, not just people who decided to go live out in the woods like hermits, but people who had found ways to live outside of the system while still being somewhat connected to it. Because like I said, there's overlap. So it's not about being connected to it per se. It's really about just finding your own path to weave in and out. Because, like I said, there's overlap.
One should know your mind and your attention's not taken up by that system. Once you realise it, you then are able to concentrate on yourself, which is what the main thing is that we should all be doing. I've always worked outside the system myself ever since I was a kid. I've never paid tax in my life, and neither fucking would I, because I knew it was wrong to do that. I knew that if I told somebody there's a job down the road there going for you, and if you want to go and get the job, then when you get it, you have to give me some of your wages. I know they would tell me to fuck off, but they're quite keen to hand it over to the government, and this is the ridiculous of it. I've never paid rent, I've just never paid for anything that would go into the system, apart from maybe buying things from shops or, bits and pieces and things that you need for your daily life kind of thing. But, I certainly wouldn't have anything to do with paying things into the system. And I had a van sitting outside there before I found out about the legal name, and I had no insurance or anything else because of the moral stance of it. Because I knew they were buying bombs with the fucking money, and I thought, well, you're getting fuck all off of me, which is the greater crime, to not have insurance or a tax disc on your car, or to buy that so as they can then use money to buy bombs, because it's exactly what happens with it. It's quite ludicrous. But people that are newer to this and that, you don't need to drop it all like a ton of bricks, because you need to do it bit by bit by bit by bit, and none of us can tell anyone how to go around about doing it, but they have to find their own path, their own way is doing what's right, but it is really all that's required is to get the correct moral ground, and to approach it like that, because if you're causing harm, then you're going against natural law, and it's the only law that really matters, because all the other laws are man-made. They're all created by a select few that trick you into thinking it's got something to do with you, i.e. getting you to have a driving license. So because you've got a driving license, that's a thing that's registered. So, of course, as soon as you've done that, then you're liable for all the road traffic regulations because you've got a bloody driving license. It's you don't have a driving license, or you realise the situation, and then, of course, you're not party to any of those statutes and acts, because that's what all those things are. They're just about raising money and manipulating people and humiliating them into the bargain, because to tell you that you need insurance in the first place is almost scripting an accident, isn't it? So, but so all the money is being used to buy bombs, at the end of the day. So, any of these things that we all do, we really need to look at for ourselves and to decide ourselves what's the best course of action to take over it,
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Hey.
Yeah. When I hear the word system, that's pretty synonymous with the word control, and the system exists solely as a means to control people who are not willing to control themselves. So if somebody is trying to control another, that means that they have absolutely no control over themselves. That's the domination mentality. And people who are subservient to these psychopaths, they have absolutely no control over themselves, so they think someone else can, make their decisions for them. That's what the system's tailored for. And for people who come across this legal name fraud stuff and they want to be responsible for themselves on all accounts and never have to, listen to someone else tell them what to do, that is leaving it. It is no longer allowing someone else to be your parent for you. And that's the fear-based program. There is no exact science. You're right. There's no exact science to walk away from this stuff. But when you're able to observe why you do things and how you're doing things and, what's going on around you and why it's happening, that's when you can truly see what's going on here, is that if you're in the system and you're, all this other stuff, it's a means of control, because, you're basically procrastinating in the inevitable, confrontation with yourself that's going to happen, and that's personal responsibility in the first place. So if you're ignoring that whole confrontation of self and how you have to look at yourself in the mirror, then that's all being a part of this stuff is you're not taking responsibility for your own actions. So when you can let that go, no matter how long it takes you to get out of everything, you're good.
And who cares how long it takes? You're immortal.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the big programs is a sense of urgency. People figure out, it's illegal to use a legal name. Let me go chop up all this stuff, throw it all away, and then they call into the show, guys, everything, they're cutting off the power and the water, and I'm homeless now, and all this other stuff. What do? It's like, why did you you just jumped off the cliff? You didn't look down to see if there was water, and that's why when people do come asking for advice here, it's so difficult to even acknowledge them, because it's like I never asked anyone to tell me what to do. I took the information as it came, and I inserted it into my actions where I could, and now I'm to a point where I'm comfortable and I don't need to ask anyone for anything. So it's all personal responsibility. So even for the people who find out about this information and then they decide to jump off the cliff, that's just another sense of urgency. It's just another program running, and with that. And I do see people who come to the legal name fraud and stuff. I've seen it in the discussion group, and I've heard it on calls before. People think it's some kind of loophole in the system. This is walking out of the ring. This is taking the piece off the game board. This is everything. So yeah, remove that sense of urgency from your life. There is no get down to the car lot to buy the car while the deal is still hot. That's not a thing anymore. That's the insanity of this place.
Well, that's right, and you're right what you say there about advice. I mean, you can't give people advice. We can't teach anybody anything, I mean, help anybody. These are all just things people need to figure out their own path, There's nothing anybody can teach you or advise you of, because, I mean, that's interference as far as I'm concerned, any of those things, and it also professes that you know better, which is another thing, so... the only questions we have to ask really are the questions that we ask ourselves at the end of the day. I mean, there are no reason for us asking anybody questions or anybody asking us questions. I mean, I don't mind personally if people ask questions, but you can only really answer them yourselves,
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying is, people asking questions is great, because how are you going to find out what 2 + 2 is if you never, you never learned that. So it's not even that. It's more along the lines of when you're asking someone what to do when you come across this information, you're basically trading one idol with a goofy little suit and imaginary authority for someone who doesn't want that authority over you, but you're giving them that authority by having them dictate your next move. You know what I mean?
Well, that's right. If they start following you, they've fallen low again, haven't they? So it's one of the, it's a catch-22, isn't it? And we want to assist people, but we can't help them, It's as simple as that. They can only help themselves, And as soon as someone helps themselves, then maybe there are things that we can do that can assist in what people do, But it's all personal choice, isn't it? And it's about making decisions for ourselves and finding their own way and their own paths, as we all have different ones. I didn't choose my path. I'm on the path that I'm on because that's what creation chose for me. It wasn't me that chose it, I probably wouldn't choose it if it was up to me. But that's the thing at the end of the day. You can't advise people, you can't help them, you can't teach them, I mean, that's just like, it's another program, isn't it? It's another authority or another belief system, isn't it? We need to get inside ourselves and answer all these questions to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a personal responsibility.
Yep. Hang on.
I was asking questions to we all had this quest for truth, or else we wouldn't be at these tables. So, go ahead, ask your questions. But really, you're asking those questions to yourself. We can help. We can tell our experiences, but they won't be the answers to your questions. Only your experiences can answer that, and that's just breaking free from that safer program that somewhere out there someone will have all the answers. Amper, I'm going to open your mic, but we were getting a lot of feedback before, so I closed it for now.
Are you on there? Yeah, give it to me, mate. Am I open?
Yep.
Yeah.
Am I open, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, man. New to the radio, so I'm so a bit of feedback. No,
it's fine.
Let me just turn my side down.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could mute on your end. It's only when you're not talking. If you want to chime in, feel free to open up your mic. But I like to keep all the mics open from my end. So yeah, it's cool. Breaking free from that savior program is one of the simplest things to do once you really decide, like, okay, search for the answers yourself.
Okay.
However you choose.
Well, when I started tearing down those walls of I should listen to this guy because of this and XYZ, when I was going through that, it's a simple question of authenticity. Is this beneficial for me to do it for myself, or is it beneficial for the individual I'm listening to give them more, basically control? Like I said, if you don't have any control over yourself, you're either going to try to control others or subserviently be controlled by another. So when you step away from that, there is no there's nothing that anyone can really say to you, as long as you cause natural law, as long as you cause no harm. So this gimme stuff that I know I know the program, and for the newer people, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I know, because you think, now you have all this information that, you're some kind of super genius and there should be some retribution. But the retribution is taking off the tackles of this place. It's all perception at that point,
Yeah, I was talking about that just before, that once you have the contrast of what is not reality, legality, then it's like, okay, then reality is something else. And since legality is nothing like what we perceive around us, and reality is just concepts upon fictional concepts upon legal jargon, and et cetera, et cetera. So once you have that contrast, all this craziness,
yeah, you can drop it all. Last night I was talking to one of my friends that I was hanging with last time I was in Chicago, and it's really funny. I was explaining Stockholm Syndrome after I explained the legal name fraud, and, defending the people who, perpetuate a lie because, the 5 monkeys, it's always been like this, when just a week prior to that it was completely different, but you were placed in a situation where it had been normalized to be a part of the system, and you think it's real because your parents thought it was real and your grandparents thought it was real. Well, this particular system that is running right now is only a few generations old, and if you it's kind of comical because I'm at the States, the Northwestern Hemisphere, and you talk to these idiots, and I'm saying idiots because at this point it's a choice. They're like, oh, patriotism, my flag, and I'm like, well, if you really want to get into the depths of it, this place has only been like this for about 230x, years. So that's a couple generations. So that's not really anything, I know that I still have my family Bible thing from Ireland, and there are names in there from the 1500s. So my family line, reachable, whatever. I don't really care about it, but it's older than this place by double. So it's just funny to me that people think that this short span of life is always how it's been because they've never seen anything else. Provide that contrast, and you'll see very quickly how the walls of this delusion of legality start to crumble. And then you can pick up the pieces and build something else. See, that's the thing that scares people, is that you take their reality away and you're not replacing it with something, but it's their responsibility to replace it with something because they want someone else to create for them. They want someone else to hold the reins in their life. So if you want to be personally responsible for everything that you do without any excuses, if you don't have vengeance in your heart for the things that have happened, because once again, you were the one who was committing the crime. They just asked you to commit it. So if you can accept that you used to be a criminal, then you can move forward and not hold any anger with you. Don't carry any of that weight with you. And, yeah, it'll make things easier on the path.
That's the difference between accepting and ignoring, because ignoring these things is just making that pain harder and putting that more burden on your soul. But accepting it is then you can let go and move on, and then you can work from there. And it's always a step forward, and that's something we should always be trying to do, because going forward is expansion, and that's expansion for our consciousness. That's those aha moments of when you can say, like, okay, and then move on from there.
Well, yeah, and when I was talking to the female last night, it was really funny because I was like, why are you committing fraud? If it was some video of some guy who was eating oatmeal and being an asshole. He got pulled over and he was kind of being an asshole to the cop. And she's like, I'm going to say something that some people aren't going to like, but this guy's being kind of an asshole. And I was like, well, I want to point out that what I'm going to say, even less people are going to like. Both people in this video are criminals. And then I broke down the whole thing. She's like, what? I would never do that. And I was like, well, to deny what you have already done, to make yourself feel comfortable in that little comfort zone that you've had created around you, that's not facing yourself. That's not facing what's going on. So if you can accept that you have done that, that's when you move forward. To deny, that's a lie. You're gonna lie. You can lie to everybody else in the world. You cannot lie to yourself. So stop. Really, just stop. It's only as difficult as people perceive it to be. So if you can drop all of the delusions here any of this stuff, countries, politicians, all the stupid stuff, rights. If you can drop all that stuff and realize that you have the ability to do everything you used to think you had a right to do, and accept your capacity for good and evil, it doesn't mean that you're going to be the villain in the story. It means that you could, and you accept that capacity, because if you're going to accept the consciousness itself, then accept it, move forward. It is illegal to use a legal name, because the legal name destroys everything real. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's about self-accountability, isn't it? That's what you're saying there. It's a self-accountability. We can't blame other people for it, and there can't be any vengeance in anything either, you know. So once the penny drops, doesn't it? So it's about doing the right thing, isn't it? It's about causing no harm. It's about realising that the whole world, as long as we can ever remember, has been about death and gore. It's about war, and you know, and you say about patriots and people like that. And I mean, they're the ones that really need to waken up even faster, because I mean, all these wars had with the same people on both sides. The same people controlling both sides financially, and wars are in actual fact snuff films, you know, that they're making, you know, and that's their ancestors that have been sent to the slaughter for it, and yet they're still jumping up and down there with a flag. It's quite laughable, really, you know.
Well, when I called out Ireland on that YouTube video, I broke down the history of. Yeah, I broke down a little bit of the history of what was happening with Ireland for, you know, standing up to the crown and all this stuff, and how they sent some Gaelic children over to the West Indies and Barbados and stuff to be slaves, even prior to the Africans. And it is that simplicity of complying while complaining. If you are going to complain about it while complying, that just means you're crazy, because you're caught in this loop. And that's why I see protesters, you know. You're taking our rights, blah blah blah. You know, look at my picket sign. It's like, okay, well, why are you playing the game if all you're going to do is complain about it? And this is that complacent mentality, that smug little, I have a clean record, I'm okay. It's like, no, you're not, because I know that you're a criminal and I can show you. You know, once you see the contrast, you know, the rest is up to you. But I wouldn't do that. And that's not giving advice. That's me saying I wouldn't be a criminal given the choice. And that's why if you talk to these cops and you talk to whatever legal agency, then you realize very quickly that you're just giving them the contrast, and they're going to invite you, they're going to give you invitations to be a criminal all day. They're going to ask you for an identification card, which we know is illegal to have. So, yeah, I mean, complying, it's a cycle. It's always been a cycle. It's a circle. That's why when people are talking about revolution, well, when I think revolution, I think revolving door. You're going to end up at the exact same spot at a later time. So, time to evolve yourself internally, change yourself, and then the things around you start changing. So that is personal responsibility of the highest order. It's knowing that you affect the things around you, and that it's not some exterior thing that is going to save you. Only you can do that for yourself.
And just a little
protest. Going protesting for it doesn't help either, because protesting is just recognition of the system itself. So, you know, it's about opting out of it. It's about realising that you don't play games with criminals and murderers, you know, and that's what they are. That's what the system is, and that's what people that work for the system are, you know. So simples, isn't it?
And just a little phonics to what you're talking about is that when you get caught in a circle, in a cycle, you go psycho. It's just part of the phonics, you know. Same words right in there, you know. It's getting caught in a loop.
Absolutely, good one. And that's, oh man, and like you were saying earlier, once you can drop the delusion and how you can start working on yourself and being able to pull out psycho from cycle, yeah, it's and that's kind of the breakdown between people who have done, you know, the work on themselves. This is the little barrier that people who haven't form. Oh, I don't understand what you're saying because I haven't studied it. Can you teach me? Can you show me the way? No. I'll tell you what path I took. You know, it's walking through that grenade field. Here, I put little white flags. You walk in between the white flags. You're going to make it across. Yeah, but look at that shiny object. I better go check that out. And boom. You know? So if you can stay the course inside of yourself, and that's the whole thing. It's you. It has always been you. The distraction, the delusion is that it's something else. Yeah, people are gonna. Well, what is that? Let he who will be deceived be deceived. People are going to offer to parasite off of you your entire life. Whether you're walking through the mall, some asshole kid wants to shine your shoes and you don't really want it, and they start insulting. Oh, but you look at your dirty shoes. That's just from my own experience. Anyway, people are going to try to parasite off of you. You know, that's natural for the dead to try to live vicariously through the living. So if you're alive, and you know you're alive, you know yourself, you work on yourself, then watch those little parasites start dwindling from your life. And that's the beauty here. So, yeah. How crazy do you want it to get? How awesome do you want it to get? All up to you.
It's stepping out of that role of the idol, the paper doll, and into the role of being creator. And then that's what you mean when you say, like, it's up to you. It's because we're putting this intentions out there. You know, it's kind of like the law of attraction kind of thing. If you reap what you sow, it's you get in what you put out. Action, reaction, cause, effect, that whole thing. Once you step out of the cause to the effect to the system, you can be the cause to your own matrix, to your own reality, because you've stepped out of the legality matrix. So then you've got a whole world to play in now.
Well, yeah, and this place is our playground, you know, and I think people lose sight of that when they deal with all this red tape stuff. Guys, this is the heart. This is where we came to play. What was I going to say? I had a funny little thing I was going to add there. Yeah, I lost it. But anyway, yeah, it was about something personal responsibility. But yeah, exactly, law of attraction. If you're going to go to protest, oh yeah, cause and effect. Okay, that was it. Everything here, everything legal is the effect. Have you been? A protest is a reaction to something that somebody else did. Like I said, complying. If you're complying with somebody, does that make you the cause or effect? If you're complaining about something, is your complaint the cause or effect? It's all effect in legality. It is all the result of someone else dictating the world around you, once again making it exterior from yourself. So cut that tie, cut that victimhood mentality, and I know people love to cling to that. I know people are like, oh, well, they did this to me. Yeah, but you did that to yourself as well. You know, you're going to blame 50% of the equation on someone offering it. You accepted it. So, yeah, who's at fault here? The one who complied with it, the one who played along to get along? You know? It's drop all of it. Drop any excuse you've ever had and just be yourself, do your own thing, and cause no harm. And you'll see very quickly, at least from my experience, a lot of stuff changed around me. People that I had thought were friends, no longer friends. I don't speak to them anymore. People that share a couple more strands of DNA with me, I don't talk to them anymore either. There's nothing to talk about anymore with people who deny their responsibility for themselves. So the circles get smaller and bigger because now how many people are we talking to around the world? So, oh man, yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun to experience though.
It's an interesting shift from thinking about your world in this very small kind of conceptions of like our local communities and like the kind of local world and matrices around us to expanding this circle, because when you start thinking about the illegal name fraud, it's something that affects all of humanity, and it puts you into that mindset of thinking about all of humanity, and that's stepping from thinking about like a very little like microcosm to the macrocosm to the all, and that's a totally different headspace, and that's why we have like this great circle now, this table that stretches far and wide. It's because we can make these bigger connections now because we're outside of a headspace that is very, very limiting.
And we can't blame anybody else. We can't blame anybody else. We're the cause of everything we do if we use that legal name or take part in the system. And we're the cause of everything that happens to us, you know, and that's it's as simple as that, really. I mean, you are what you do, you know. So you know what goes around comes around as well. So if you're contributing to that system, if you're using a legal name and you think you're a fiction, and anything that happens to you is self-inflicted, once you're aware of that situation, you know. I mean, even if we're not aware, I suppose we're still the cause in ignorance. But certainly, once people are aware of the legal name fraud, and the name is something that's on a register. It's a birth certificate on a piece of paper. It's got nothing whatsoever to do with you. So anything you do, you're the cause of it yourself, and to try and blame somebody else, even 50% of it, we can't do that either, because everything's done by consent. Everything we do is done by consent, even though if you might think that it's not consent because you've been terrified into something, remembering that false evidence, that fear is false evidence appearing real, so it's about getting inside yourself and realizing that you are actually the power, and there's no external power, that it's just a bluff that you walk yourself into, which makes you the cause.
Well, that's one of the funny things that I saw was that most of the time when people are afraid of anything here, it's because they were taught to create scenarios in their own head to scare themselves. You're scaring yourself with all this stuff.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day with my sister at one of our old houses, she had convinced my brother that there was a ghost in the attic. And, we'd go out in the garage and we'd look up at the door and see that, my brother would make up something and he'd see a shadow because he created that scenario of fear. So he started seeing stuff even though nothing was happening. So it's the same thing with these protests. These Alex Jones, look at the guy who's doing something over there. Oh, but don't look at him for too long because there's some guy over here doing something else. It's like, why when you care about what these people are doing, that's giving your power away, is when you're more worried about what someone else is doing and you're not worried about what you're doing. And to truly see your effect on the things around you, you got to know why you're doing the stuff you're doing. And if you can't take that, if you can't accept that you cause the things around you, or at least just accept that they're happening without trying to agree or disagree with them, that's when you bring your power back into your own realm, and now you have a spine again, at least. Now you can stand. So, yeah, stop being afraid of the boogeyman, guys. There's nothing out there that's out there to get you. It's you. It's your mind. You're scaring yourself into a fucking corner, hiding under the covers. Completely unnecessary.
Yeah, it's those programs that were put there in our minds so that we would think one thing when presented with one thing. The programs are as simple as action, reaction. It's that, like, we were programmed, like, you see a badge and a silly uniform, then it's just like, oh, authority, like, be afraid, cops kill people. But we don't have to play that role anymore. You don't have to step into that kind of headspace of being in the legal name of what when you're presented with that usual kind of authority mentality, or that authority persona, because that's what it is. Those cops are just wearing masks when they put on their uniform, just like anyone is when they're playing those roles of the system. When you're being a legal name, you're putting on a mask. It's getting caught in that program of wearing something that's not yours to wear.
Well, yeah, the legal name is no more than these people wearing these Guy Fawkes masks thinking that they're anonymous. Well, take off the mask, and are you still using a legal name? Yeah, okay, you're still allowing someone else to take control of yourself. That's the biggest thing that holds people to this is the fear of that ultimatum. Well, if I don't do this, then this will happen because they said so. Well, it's like I don't want to throw any names out there, but somebody had just bought a vehicle, and they stripped everything off of it, the plates in the VIN and everything, and it was parked on the street outside of someone's house, and they called me saying that the cops are here threatening to take the vehicle. So I said, had they taken it? And they're like, well, no. I was like, then they're not going to take it. If they're threatening all this stuff, it doesn't mean anything. And did they take it? No. And he drove home that day. So it's don't accept ultimatums. Those are just offers to contract with somebody. And if you don't play the ultimatum game, if you don't play the what-if game, the doubt game, the debt game, then there's no mechanism available for anybody to control you. It's impossible. To the lengths that you can stand your ground is on you. That's how much time you take to become well versed in this stuff. But it's completely on you for the first time in your life. It is completely on you. So, you might want to start looking at yourself a little bit closer. Know why you're doing the things you're doing, and enjoy the ride. By the way, this
yeah, you know,
can
you
be
have
very
to see your own fractals play out in front of you, because who else is going to see them? You know, only you have that angle of perception to see your own fractals play out, to see how your actions play out on a larger scale, and how other people's actions play at a larger scale. You know, that's how you step into that mindset of cause over effect, because you can see the effects once you start looking at these fractals expand out of your own life path, of your own experiences.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's you know, it's that heaven hell perception game of you know, was this thing done to me, hell, or done for me, heaven? And you know, it's the way that you see the world in legality, as you know, you're just a cog in a pecking order, and that everything around you is out of your hands because, like even taxpayers. Well, you know that through omission, you're actually an accessory to murder because you're giving them money. They're using that money to go kill people, right? Well, once I give them money, how is that on me, what they do with it? Well, you know that they're going to do it, though, because they always do it. That's what they've been doing since the imaginary authority started. A bunch of psychopaths sending off dumbasses to go kill each other over plots of dirt. That's all history is. So... So are you gonna keep playing the cog in the bottom of the totem pole? Is that really what you want to be? Then that's what I said. By all means, if you think that legality is reality, go ahead. I wouldn't do that because I know that it's not. I've seen that it's not. I've experienced that it is not. If you're not willing to take that step in your own life, in your own, you know, breaking out of your own comfort zone to see what is really happening here, then by all means, do you. Do everything you want to do, even though it's somebody else's choice for you. That's what I'm saying, is personal responsibility in the highest order. Do not, either you accept what other people are telling you to do, or you finally accept that you're responsible for yourself. Bar none, there is no excuse. The things that you do, there is no insurance company that's going to back you. There is no, you know, whatever. There is no safety net for you. If you fall, that's because you chose something to make you fall. You got yourself amped up, and that's on you. How freeing is that? Wow, you're responsible for yourself? Isn't that madness?
Well, it's just that the programs say so otherwise. You know, the programs say always play the blame game, always put this on someone else. You know, that's part of the reason that Savior program was so effective, because then afterwards, when these false saviors would come along, always guaranteeing more than they can handle, you know, then the blame game would happen. And it's just another program. You don't have to blame anyone. You just have to see how creation did this. You know, that's what you were saying before about hell done to you and heaven done for you. You have to see, like, why this happened. You know, just ask that great spiritual question of why. See the big picture of why. What was this trying to show you?
Yeah, and it's removing that victimhood from the experience, you know. Oh, poor me. Woe is me, guys. Look, something happened, and it was out of my hands. I mean, I know I chose to do that, you know, whatever it was. I know I chose to enter myself into this situation, but then I had no control over it once I got here. Well, then why the hell did you put yourself in that situation? This isn't the first time you've done it. You keep putting yourself in situations, and then, and I've seen it a few times where, and for people who, like I said, the sense of urgency, so people do no-namer stuff, they hear about it, they're about a week or two into studying it, then they come into a situation, then they jump off the cliff. And then they call back in, and they're like, yeah, I feel so bad because I did everything and blah, 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 and I was in jail for a couple days, but then I gave up. Whoa. So you had your experience, you bring it to the table and you share it, then you take us back to that moment of doubt and fear by saying that you gave up? No, that's your experience. Hold that. That's yours. We got our gems from it, you know? So, yeah, things are just getting funnier, let me just say that. As things progress, they're going to get funnier. For people who can see the humor in this, at least. And, yeah, laugh on, keep laughing. This is crumbling.
Yeah, don't take things too seriously, because you can often just get caught in these emotional reactions to things that happen around you. But don't take things too seriously. You know, this legality, news, all those kinds of things. Those are just the illusions you see around you. So when stuff's happening around them, don't take them too seriously because it's just nonsense anyway. It's just an illusion. It's a bad movie, for crying out loud. That just to see it for what it is and leave it behind.
Yep. No ego emotional attachments here. What is that song? There is no strings to hold me down. Yeah. Just watch it. Yeah. You're basically right now. You're just in it. Yeah. You're just playing that part. You're in a movie. Are you the villain? The background, the bartender in the background pouring someone a drink while the scene's going on. Are you the villain? Are you the good guy? Are you? There's so many different parts to play. Are you the director? Ha. So and every day I try to do something different, play, get a different perspective. So, and that's all I can really offer is my perspective. And when I've had people hear it and be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I've had people be like, you're an idiot. Okay, I'm okay with that because like I said, I had the experience. Nothing speaks louder than experience. So what is that? What was it? Condemnation without investigation is shit. I don't know. I forgot that.
Stupidity.
Yeah, there you go. So, experience, then speak. Study, then talk. Bringing opinions into things that you've never experienced is you're just blowing smoke. You're going to be choking up everybody around you.
If you notice, if you look at all the elements in the allegory of like the water, air, all those things are, and fire, all those things are clear, but smoke is cloudy. Smoke is illusion. It's mystified because it's blinding you. It's just another nonsense. That's why opinions are just clouding in the mind. If you're really basing facts off opinions, which even the word fact comes from a Latin word which means artificial. It's just another opinion. When you're basing things off opinions, you're caught in that kind of illusion, belief mindset. That's legality. That's the same old programs of belief.
Well, the
hey
only
guys, how's it going?
Go ahead.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, your mic's open.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I've had trouble getting in before. It seems like I've been blocked somehow or whatever. Not blocked, but technology, Steve here, or whatever you want to call me, Mask Maker. I think you've heard of me before, or heard, whatever. I've been listening in, and you've been addressing some really subjects that I've been battling with here on the ground of the Rockies, and the huge self-sustainable movement here. But it's amazing how selfish it is. It's like another landlord type of movement taking place, and they're looking at the legal name thing as a quick tool to get out of the system and misunderstanding it. And then has anybody ran into that type of position of it's illegal to use the legal name, and then everybody's all excited, and then they look into the consequences of it, and they want their passport,
Yeah, well, let me tell you something real quick. If you try to use the legal name fraud exposure stuff as personal gain, then that's not going to work for you, and it's going to come back twice as hard on you.
That's exactly what's happening. It's when you try to sort of cheat the whole thing and use it for self-advantage, self-gain, it doesn't work. That's the thing that people won't confess to, that they're trying for a self-gain motive. And it's easy to catch them at it. This it's illegal to use the legal name. Sure, exposes a hell of a lot. My God, when people either reject the concept or try to go into it and do it half-heartedly, but still want all the goodies of the system, it just blows up in their face. It's
so it should. Yeah, so it should as well, because... sorry, Luca, carry on.
Something I always tell people before using this information and before acting upon anything is read the essays, and before you even put them out there, read them to the point till you understand them and could have written them yourself. get to that point where you could really understand the why of why this stuff works and what's really going on behind it. Otherwise, you're just blowing smoke again. You know, if you use something and you don't understand the intent behind it, then what are you doing?
Oh, that's a great point. That's a really good point. I'm even refreshing myself, reading the writings over and over again, particularly when I'm having a difficulty in a situation or something. I'll just turn to the writings and start reading, and lo and behold, synchronicity works on your side every time.
Creation looks after those who look after themselves, and you try and use this information against creation and it'll be your arse. And that's simple as that, isn't it?
No, right on with that. I've had that own personal example of, fortunately I've only had to deal with slight feather brushes, but a feather brush to me is a signal to what direction you're balancing at. And, rather than looking at yourself as a victim or something else, to see what correction needs to take place. And it's just this, everybody has been babied so much by the system into obedience, into the fact of reward and punishment. And they hate to admit the fact that, they're subservient to it. And it's really there just for its own pleasure. It's, and it's this caught up thing is that we want a little piece of that pleasure. And the big thing here, I'm in the land mass that they've named BC. And BC, how about that? Anyway, it has this effect where people are just crying for the social programs constantly, and that's the biggest fear I'm facing here with, I'm going to become sustainable and I can get a government grant for doing that. And that's self-sustainable is, you might as well change it to selfish. It's sort of, I had to look at it and I realized, what a great thing. But people aren't looking to share when this catches up its momentum and grants start being passed out. It's like this little favoritism thing where everybody's holding their hand out and they need the legal name to do it. And that's that's what's come back on me, especially this last week, of running into about 4 people who are going to self-sustainability. And they're worshiping this hellhole and wanting to stay in survival in it. And survival is all that they really are looking towards. So I'm just giving a report on the sort of movement that's going out in the area that I'm having, and I'm seeing, of course we have to have guns to protect our land. And it's just, woo. These ideas are not, really planting good seeds for sure. Does anybody have any sort of perception on that? Like, it's they're interested in the legal name, but only if it serves their right to remain a landlord of some form.
Well, here I have a little description that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. So legality and participation in that stuff is basically yourself clawing and fighting and stepping on the guy next to you to get ahead in the game, right? Well, so I kind of place that as like the boxing ring. You're in there to fight for little shiny objects and little, entitled things. So losing the legal name is stepping outside of the ring. Now, when you step outside of the ring, if you're still trying to fight the fight, you lose by default because you're no longer in the ring. So you lose everything that you thought you were entitled to by stepping out of the ring. So that's the insanity of trying to do self-beneficial gain while not playing the game.
Yeah.
You're trying to fight in a boxing match outside of the ring. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's it. You're going to have to go into the ring, and that's where I've spent time with these people, probably like you have with several other people, and they're getting it. So many of them have been tainted by the sovereign citizen and the free man movement. Like that's taken a real swath in this area here of I have my rights, and and I can protect them. I got this gun. And this is actually, people, if you saw them, you would say that they were more hippie-like or anything else, but there's an aggression building in this survival concept of thinking, and it's very, very disturbing on one hand, because they're wanting the freeloading of the sovereign man and the other movements to move into the no name. Like, what can I drag in here with you? And it's like nothing. It's just one simple truth. You have to get this concept yourself.
And I've seen that a lot of times. And I used to study psychology a lot. And yeah, like I said, it is people who are trying to get the prize at the end of the fight without fighting, and then they're confused as to why they didn't win the prize because they didn't fight. So if you're going, and it's adversarial. This entire system is adversarial. Even if you crash into a car and you have insurance, then there's some claim, and you're gonna have, there's some ridiculous red tape. So if you're gonna keep trying to get something from the game while not being in the game, it doesn't work. It can't work. And actually, like I said, it comes back twice as bad, because now they have their guns aimed at you. And if you have rights, why the fuck do you need a gun? Anyway.
Well, it's the revenge thing. There's this rage that's building in these people, that they're saying, I'm passive, I'm easygoing, but when they're saying that they have to protect something, there's a denial rage laying underneath there, isn't there?
Well, you know what? For any of these hippie types that say, "Oh, guys, I'm passive," it's all love and shit. Go hug a cop. I would love to hug. Put that practice. Put that into practice if you're all about love and shit. And that's the difference. That's the difference is they're still trying to hold on to someone else being responsible for them at the end of the day. They're not taking personal responsibility for the things that they do. So yeah, I mean, like I said, so. It has nothing. The legal name fraud people, the people who really know what's going on, they don't want to be controlled by another. They do not want to control another. They just want to be here amongst others and enjoy this place. And that's the difference. And you can see it when you talk to free men on the land and sovereign citizens and all these other Brett Jones, redress right, A for V's. I'm going to get a new car and a new house because I have a magical piece of paper. These idiots don't, and they're in jail all the time. They keep going back to jail because they're trying to take something from something that they don't want to be a part of. That's the cycle, complain, comply. It's insanity. It really is.
And where do you get love? And how can anybody profess to have love and peace and to be following natural law and causing no harm and want a fucking gun? It's fucking ludicrous. It's quite ludicrous. But those kind of groups are being described here, where they're trying to opt out and whatnot and try to create their own thing, still using illegal. And they're just swapping programs for programs. So it's no change, really. No change, is it?
Well, it's sort of like cherry picking in hell. I want the best of this, I want the best of hell over here and everything else. And yet, I think you can probably relate to my experiences. Once I let go of the name and burnt and cut everything up and really got the concept, which unrolled after I wouldn't give myself a road back. I destroyed everything so I wouldn't have a road back because I knew my ego would, kick in and try and convince me. I made it really, really difficult for myself. And everybody has their own way of doing that. And there's no going back once you get the concept.
That's right.
The going forward is spreading the word, and then you learn a whole different group of lessons from that one. And you see yourself in a lot of the resistance areas that these people are reflecting to you. And it's a good reminder. Like, what it does for me is it just locks it off. Like, yeah, this is true. This is, and I don't have to be aggressive talking to people because I've already got the truth within myself. And often when you're aggressive with people, it's because you're trying to convince yourself all over again. So this movement of just, it's illegal to use the legal name and then walk away has been so effective for me in finding out who's real and who's not. It just, they'll contact you. But, what I'm having is the relapse from the ones that I spent time with, and, I would take a look at myself and say I was trying to convince them. They have to convince themselves.
Yeah.
So this has been a good lesson in both ways for me to find out what position people are in, and the position when I change my way of just being, take it or leave it. I have no attachment. And I've known some of these people for a few years, and I really like them. And, it's sort of like, you know what? You're gonna run into real hell here if you keep that up. And you got to just let them run into it. You did.
Yeah, and that's really the fun. Like, it's not it's not about anything that you're doing changing. So when you come across these people, that's what makes it difficult for people that you've known forever to be around you. Is now that you're the mirror, so that there's no stopping being the mirror for people these days. So, like for me, when I was talking to that individual yesterday, we had good times when I was up in Chicago. We had a lot of fun, and we around a lot. But now that I'm where I'm at now, and I see things going on with that individual and with everything else, and I say, hey, I wouldn't do that. Now I'm just a consistent reminder every time we talk that something is going on, and it's her responsibility in her life to change it. Now, I just had another idea while I was saying that about the psychology of the free man and all that stuff is they want to continue on the path to the dream that was created for them. The mansions, the Bugattis, and the helicopter pads, and all that other shiny bullshit. They're still trying to chase that dream. They just think that they're so freaking special now that they're really smart that they want the restrictions lifted that were binding them before, making it harder to achieve that dream that somebody else created for them. So now, so that's the gimme and restriction lifting, red tape cutting stuff. So a no-namer doesn't have that, because a true no-namer, someone who really understands the concept, will never have that problem, because we don't want the shiny object. We're not going to sit there in that WWE ring trying to stick the ladder up so we can grab the suitcase full of money and get our asses kicked left and right along the way. We don't want any of that stuff.
Well, that's the commerce mindset. It's competitive. It's survival. Somebody was going to jump in there?
Except Darwin was a quack, and survival of the fittest is just another program.
It's selfishness versus selflessness, isn't it?
Well, it's not survival. That's what I'm saying. It's not a survival tactic. It is trying to thrive and get more than they need, but without the red tape that they have.
Yeah, it's a death scenario, basically, isn't it? It's consumption to the death.
Consumption without production is why the land is barren. Yes.
And that believing that it gives some sort of protection of, what I'm noticing is that very few people have even looked at the concept of immortality. And that totally wipes out the survival, what would you call it, an instinct? Because it's not an intuition. It's sort of like a instinct. If you're running every day in survival, then you're not living. And, these sort of words back, well, when it all comes down, I'll have my garden and my gun. Well, good luck with that one. I traveled throughout Europe, and anybody who carried a gun definitely ran into problems. I've never carried a weapon in my life, and I've seen no need to it, and I've traveled all over some of the very dangerous places, and I saw nothing but when you're in that survival instinct, another person who's in survival is attracted to you, either one way or another, of trying to mooch off of you or to, take from you in, an outright forceful way. So that whole scenario of survival is something that people are going to have to deal with, because it's actually a death march.
Well, that's one of the most active programs, is to have you thinking with the amygdala, the fight, flight, freeze, and like I said, strip all that away. Hey.
All the credit cards expired.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not even credit cards. They're all.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey, your mic is open.
Yeah, someone's listening and did a mute on their end. I'll have to get on board real quick.
All good. Yeah. So the programs start crashing, and I know people who talk to people who are so ingrained with this stuff. You see that look on their face of absolute befuddlement, and that isn't because you're adding new programs that are corrupting their system. It's that you're hitting Control Alt Delete, opening up the task manager, and just hitting end process, and they can't react to it in time. There's nothing that I was programmed to respond to this with. How do I respond?
Well, the one I have that keeps on coming on is that it's illegal to use illegal name, and they're going. Does that mean you don't drive with insurance? Of course, that would be correct. Why would I hand my responsibility over to a third party? And that's the one that really, somebody insuring you, somebody overviewing your responsibility, it seems to be something that's a huge attraction. And I know my feelings on it when I insured things and everything else. I thought insurance was useless. But, it was compulsory in my mindset back then. And now it's not so much that it's compulsory, it's the fact that I couldn't take what if somebody's killed, and it's like, will money bring them back? We're so, currency illiterate to what really currency is, and how your energy is when you're sloughing off and basically saying to somebody, here's some money, fuck off, leave me alone now. To me, that's just like so inhumane that the concept has gotten so big, though, that people consider that as to be some form of compassion by having a third party pay for your responsibility. Anybody got any more on that? I mean, I've gone through emotional parts on that, and it's basically, what if it doesn't happen? But
okay, here real quick. What the currency stuff involved in personal responsibility and how they try to remove the personal responsibility by they put number figures and values, which depletes the actual value of whatever. You make a song, it depletes the value of the song and people enjoying it because the person made money off of it. It's a monetary value thing. So that's why the greatest things ever created, the older music and stuff like that, as compared to these new idiots who keep sagging their pants, wearing little diamonds in their teeth and all this other bullshit, because they've taken the want to create something for everyone to enjoy out of the equation so that they can gain compensation. So they keep dumbing it down to the point that it's not even music anymore. It's just an instrumental with somebody having a brain fart over it. So as far as everything else goes, yeah, it's just numerical value. They're just putting numbers on things. Everything has a price tag in the legal realm, and I said that in one of the YouTube videos I did. Is they keep putting numbers and value to things. Don't think for a minute that they don't do that to you as well. And and then you go into the jail stuff and how taxpayer money goes to jails, X amount goes to this jail to keep this guy alive for X amount of time. And, you see this insanity of this place. Your time is a money thing. It has a numerical value. So if you go to jail for a year, private prisons will take tax dollars and give that private prison $52,000. You see the insanity of this place is that they're taking human beings, but that, on the flip side of it, why they're doing it, because the system exists in itself to parasite off of the living, to give once again the death life. So yeah, it's insanity, man. There's no nice way to say it.
Crazy. Well, it creates limitation
something
in every direction.
Insurance. I just want to say something about insurance. And insurance, to think that you need to have insurance for your car or whatever else, is basically scripting and being paranoid that something's going to happen. So that's a program that's been put upon us. And we also need to be aware that all these insurance companies, they're all owned by the same people at the end of the day, the very same people that are controlling everything else. And they buy bombs with the money. So to go and buy insurance and to buy it on the grounds that, you know, how are you going to rectify something that goes wrong is just ridiculous, when obviously the wrongest thing you could do is provide money for people to buy bombs and bullets with. And that's insurance.
Well, there is no such thing as an accident either.
Well, that's right.
You know, so what are we doing insuring ourselves against something that creation wants us to experience?
Well, I don't insure myself.
I like zeroing myself out, frankly.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, but this is, you know, they argue about
it's
accidents.
Really funny. The humor, I have something funny. I have been in 3 car accidents in my life, and every time I was uninsured, and the individual who struck my car was insured. I've never been the cause of a car accident. Isn't that messed up?
Creation works in mysterious ways, shocked.
Well, even if you are in the wrong, the accident is universe putting an experience for you to resolve, you know, to challenge and to create growth within you. And the other person who's involved, of course. So when we bring insurance in, we're bringing in a third-party claim, and it's like wiping out the experience.
It was really funny that you said that, because I was just trying to get a car to get to and from work, so I spent $650 on a 96 Nissan Pathfinder, this old piece of crap rust bucket.
Nice.
And this lady backed out without looking, and I nailed the shit out of. Actually, she was in a rental car because she got in a car accident like a few days before that. Anyway, so Geico comes out to my house, and they end up writing me an $1,100 check. So I got paid to get into a car accident.
Well, that's why you got a Pathfinder.
Damn straight.
It all rhymes. The whole thing rhymes when something happens. If you can take a look at the you know, the rhyming that takes place, if you just play with the words and phonics, you guys do it all the time, and you know, I'm just amazed at the ability. You know, they labeled me as dyslexic in school, and which was great. You wouldn't believe, because there's no expectations on you when they do that. And you know, so I could just sit and rhyme whatever I wanted in a day, because nobody expected me to do anything other than just, you know, be at school. And looking at, you know, any incident that we would look at as a crisis, when we really stand back and we look at, you know, how the causal effect is discovered, it's often through, you know, the rhymes and waves of creation that it leads back to giving you the answers, the truth of what actually took place. Has anybody else experienced it that way, or how would you explain it?
Creation paves the path of least resistance. When you let creation flow, you get new roads and the path continues.
That's why you have a Pathfinder, mate.
Hell yeah. So when so that's one of the delusions here, is that somebody somewhere that's perpetuating this nonsense can somehow create creation, you know. And that's like, it's just funny to see. They try so hard and it keeps failing, and it's holding on this ego emotional attachment to thinking that you're so fucking special. But yeah, when you let go of it, that's when things start flourishing. So.
Well, why would you want to be protected from what creation wants to, you know, reward you with? An experience.
Well, you wouldn't. Exactly.
And this is what everybody wants to be protected from, because mankind says, "Oh, we can look after you better than universe." And this is how we've got into the mess, is because, you know, we've taken on so much density in our bodies, like breaking a nail anymore is like a legal suit against somebody. And you know, we've actually densified everything so much that it's brittle. It's like, you know, so easily offended by, you know, the fear of having any pain or discomfort, or that's what it's making a promise to. You know, the system is saying, we'll promise you this, we'll promise you that, which is better than creation can offer you. And it's all based on the fact that you will die, and your survival is guaranteed when you're with us. And it's totally flipped and opposite. And what I've started to notice is like how much that has become more abrupt in a lot of cases lately. It seems to be hitting a crescendo. And the legal name, lose the name, is really slapping a reality in people's face that they've been avoiding for so long. And I think...
Yeah, it's trying to outrun yourself.
Yeah. Get ahead of your own destiny.
Yeah, damn straight. Yeah, you got to face yourself. And to hold on to this stuff, this delusion, is to actively go out of your way to avoid looking in the mirror and seeing yourself for what you really are. That's what the sense of urgency, that's what all this idol worship, these celebrities, all these idiots. And to put the idiocy in perspective, a lady was going to work in this sense of urgency, like, I got to get there now. So she stopped by McDonald's to get a cup of coffee. She put it in between her legs and the lid popped off, and she got hot coffee on herself. She ended up suing McDonald's for $1 million because it didn't say on the coffee that it was hot. Do you see the idiocy of this place?
Well, also McDonald's would love that because it's great advertising in the victimized. We got victimized. So they would love that type of thing, and that's why it made such big news.
It's just stupid. I mean,
yeah. It's totally, but it's everything caters to the victim here.
The gimme's, the poor me, the someone else is
here
in
to
control.
protect you.
Nuremberg.
Yeah.
I was just doing my job.
We're here to save your life. Stop, or we'll shoot you.
I saw a headline the other day. Yeah, I saw a headline the other day. Guy calls up 911 making a suicide threat. The cops show up and shoot him. You see that?
He got his wish.
Exactly. Oh, man.
No, because it's illegal to commit suicide, you see, so they'll come around and kill you.
He was too chicken to kill himself, so he got the cops to do it because he knows they do a good job. They're trained in it afterwards,
Yeah, like I said, nothing speaks louder than experience, and those motherfuckers are experienced. Oh, man.
Yeah, just make a call to the cops. They'll come and kill you. Show them your identification. They'll do it faster. And it's, but the question coming back, I think you felt this, is that, this is more complicated than I thought. Well, the only thing that's complicated is your thinking process about this. And that's what's, that's what's causing the restriction of how much of a victim do I want to remain in this system. And to me, I didn't mind being a victim, so I might as well stay one a little longer. I'll just put this off. And all that you're looking for in yourself is to know that you're going the right direction, and taking it in the process that most is adaptable to you. And everybody's been used to being ordered to do things quickly now, deadlines. And I don't think what we're presenting, and it's illegal to use the legal name, I don't think we're presenting anything that creates any form of deadline or death march for a person other than the restrictions they put on themselves to their own death line. And it's time I'm finding myself getting a little harsher in my presentation to people to wake up, because it seems to appear right now is that we are on a brink of, something big going down in consciousness. And unless you've gone into the depths of your own soul, basically, and saw both the dark and the light of it, I don't think you're going to be able to, carry on with, the sort of lifestyle that people would want to, with the Give Me Society. I don't know exactly how this is going to unfold, but I'm watching people rapidly unravel. And being in a small area, I get sort of a micro of the macro. And it's an interesting story to watch, I'll tell you. How are your feelings on that? Anybody out there on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the apocalypse now. Obviously, if you play with the phonetics and you go through the etymology, it actually means the truth that was hidden being revealed. So this is the apocalypse. This is the thing that liars are terrified of. The truth is finally coming out. So you're only going to see people who lie, knowingly or unknowingly, freaking out about what's coming. It doesn't matter what's coming, really. The fact is that there's no hiding behind delusions, titles, legality. You can't hide behind any of this stuff anymore. And now that people are starting to realize that, holy crap, no matter what happens, I'm responsible for myself now. Suits are going out all the time. Judges are getting sued, and cops and lawyers and all this stuff's happening now. This never happened before in history. And people are like, what? And they said that they had half the quota filled for cops, new cops coming into the police academies, because people are so afraid to become cops now, because you're going to be placed. They place that delusion, and you're going to be caught in a situation where you could get sued for doing your job. So, that's what it's coming down to, is the whole fabric, the curtain in front of the Wizard of Oz. It's not just being ripped down; it's unraveling at the seams. And now people are starting to see that there's a little guy pulling some switches, and that there's nothing actually to fear here, except for themselves.
It's turning in on itself.
System explode.
Oh, sorry.
I got to do a shout-out real quick because we're about to go into the rollover. If you want to call in from a owner landline, it's 619-924-0692, and the BTR listener number is 021. Yeah, 021. So there you go. If you want to get into the board, now's the time to do so. We got 5 minutes till rollover.
So what you were saying, Shock, is basically as the system turns against itself. Here you've got cops being sued. Well, who's suing them? Lawyers, right? And so it's eating up itself. And it's only a matter of time before there can't be any cooperation in it. And that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. And as you're saying, I'm seeing it right now. I basically had a cop run away from me in my feather brushing, and I was wondering, how much of it is that, this information, even though people are in denial, how much of it strikes the soul? Well, the truth does. Yeah, the truth hits them right dead center, and it causes a reaction that is not in their imprinting. It's interesting to watch, and as more and more experiences come in of, when people are really holding to the truth of, I am not a legal name. I refuse any form of attachment to that within myself. Therefore, that, on the exterior is easily recognized. And it's getting more powerful in that position as you stand in that. And as these examples come forward, I was thinking the stuff that had happened to me here would give people clarity. And they can't argue about it. It's all contradictory to what the law usually does to a person. And yet, and I've asked them, and there's several, what more proof do you need? And it's sort of I said, I know which proof you need. You need to do it to prove it to yourself. Because my experience is not enough, and I know that. And that's why the letting go has become much easier to me. There's people who I care dearly for, and I'm just, have at it. Do what you want, my children included. And I didn't believe at one point I could just let it go at that, but I can now because the truth is so apparent within myself that I can let go of anybody who, I don't want to get in their way of how they wish to experience life. And that becomes more confirming to me that you can never interfere with another person's free will. So this is very compounding in my journey, and I'm being able to play with it as well. As you know, I make masks, and my main logo right now is, it's illegal to use a legal name. Lose the mask, lose the name. So I'll see how it goes. I'm caravanning to about 9 festivals this year, and my main principal cause is to get the word out. The masking is the sideline. It's the attraction. and then it has basically a way of delivering the message. I just look at the masks as a delivery system, and so that's that's the course I'm on anyway. So I'll be traveling a few thousand kilometers, chugging around the countryside, and going to the festivals that are more earth, like not huge commercial ones, not at all. They're all volunteer in that, and see what kind of impact it has. That's what this whole ability has led me to, is that it's a delivery system. And so we'll see how well I can deliver it. Anybody got any other ideas on that?
I think your path is awesome. That sounds pretty incredible.
Well, I plan on reporting in. I'm going to play. That's all I'm going to do. And I've been able to release enough of, being intense or anything about this. I'm in the casual. Yeah, I've got it. If I'm walking in some sort of example and a type of freedom that other people would see as beneficial, then hopefully that's what I can do, And so I'm going to all diversities, to a gay festival, to a goddess festival, to an Earth Love festival. I thought I'd pick all the ones that were volunteer and that don't have a beer tent where people get drunk and send their children out running astray. So, it seemed to have been handpicked for me by synchronicity again. They just flowed into place. And so I'm off and running. I'm going to Gypsy. So anyway, I'll try and take you along with me with the story. So I hope I can get some things together that you can follow along with. So we'll see how it goes. I start in 2 weeks. So, and I'll be doing it right till September. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll be in touch all the way. So anyway,
it's been a really good conversation starter for me. I put losethename.com on the front of a hat, and people keep asking me, what the hell is that?
That's great. I mean, every mask I have has losethename.com written inside of it. Every mask. And I have about 300 that I start out. And it's like, and the cards that I'm printing up is, it's not to promote the masking. It's just about, looks like I'm trying to stop people from wearing masks. But on the other hand, I'm really, stop using the name. It's killing you, And I was gifted with this ability. I know this is something that came through me, and I was trying to find the cause to bring it to, and this fell right into place perfectly for me. I couldn't have been more just sort of like, this works. Like, okay, but the question is that why me? Why was you chose it. So here it is. Go for it. And it all falls into place of getting people's attention, like your hat, in a way that it just stalls them for a second, stops them from the program. Just all you need is just a microsecond, and you can fit something in. So that's the way it happened to me. I mean, my greatest insights came in a split second, and then my whole world changed. And so I think using the art and the whimsical and, just sort of a very unusual sort of item, hat or whatever, mask, is just to get that little glitch point where you can throw something in that heads towards the person's real, true consciousness. So that's sort of the vision that I have of what's happening, because I've seen what it does. Last year I started just mentioning it to people, and, they would just, their jaw would drop for a second, and then they'd go back to the program. And I was wondering, what else can I do to reach out a little more in a way that they will let's say, have an opening to receive it enough.
You're overthinking this way too much. Shock value. At the very beginning, shock value. When I call into legal agencies and I'm letting them know that they're committing fraud, the first thing I say, hey, this is Shock and GNIP. Are you aware that you're aiding and abetting people into committing fraud? I was wondering what you had to say about the exposure of legal name fraud and your part in it. Does your company have anything they'd like to make a statement on? And then they're like, what the hell is this guy talking? Yeah, because after that, it's only questions about what I'm talking about. It's no longer trying to defend themselves and stuff. They're just like, wait, so we're doing what? We're aiding and abetting fraud. How are we doing that? And then it turns into this whole thing. So with the hat, it doesn't have a recognizable logo or anything crazy. So they take, they do the double, sometimes triple take trying to read it, losethename.com, and then and that sparks a conversation. Lose the name, what does that mean? Oh, well, you should Google search legal name fraud, go losethename.com, find out for yourself, see what's going on around here. And that it gets to a point where there's no need for them to try to defend themselves. Now it's straight, and it leaves that door closed of defense mechanisms and victimhood. It opens up, however, curiosity. And when that's what you're playing with is somebody's curiosity, you can explain whatever you want to, and their curiosity is going to keep their attention on what you're saying.
Yeah, good point. That's what, when I simplify it, I'm going into my thinking too much here. The point is the shock value of the art or whatever, and then the message, and take it from there, whatever unfolds from there. But I guess the defense mechanism is the main thing with the defense of the system. The Stockholm syndrome is what you're actually dealing with in a lot of cases.
You only get that, though, remember, because you're trying to do something. You're passing out your masks. You've got written inside the mask, loseyourname.com. That's the job done. The seed's there already, so it's not about us doing it. It's about just passing the seed and letting it go. It's as simple as that, eh? I mean, the more we try and do to try to convince somebody, the less it'll actually have, and the more Stockholm syndrome comes out of them. So, I mean, we all have our own way of passing the message. And that's a beautiful way you have got. And I've seen some of your masks as well. They're beautiful as well. So this is what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, they're not my masks. They come through me, and I'm very aware of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I get that as well.
In my respect for this art that's been passing through me, it has to be shared in whatever way it can to bring a message or anything else. Like, otherwise, I don't have a purpose, like, for, this art. And if it isn't used to carry some sort of awakening or something towards,
art is a creation, eh? And creation doesn't have a purpose. It just is.
It comes directly from creation. I'm basically just I'm a conduit of it. And
that's right.
A lot of times when I finish these, I look at the faces on them and I go, oh, geez, like, where'd this one come from? And I realize they're giving a reflection of, an inner part. And this is something that I would really encourage in people, because what it does is you tap into the imagination. In my understanding, is the communication with the soul. And it all starts with images. It's a beautiful experience to have, and I'm very, I feel very fortunate to have tapped into it. And I want to share the sequence that I experienced it through, so that people can start to play, rather than compete with one another. This is what is so destructive to the art community. I've been offered by several art studios, but you have to give a legal name to go into them, and I could sit at home and just make masks and make a living. But that is not what this has been created for. I know it. And it has to be in a more casual sense, where you and with creation work through and discover and create a way of approaching people to wake them up to a more awareness of themselves in a very casual way, just through wonder or art or whatever it's used, music, all these arts were, here to be shared, not to be copyrighted. And that's what the restriction is. This copyright thing is what's destroyed, the ability of sharing art and the wonder that our child growth really needs. And this is something that I've dawned on, and I call it for myself the constitution of the child, which is truth. I mean, when you talk to a small child, they tell the truth. They reflect everything until they're programmed, of course. But this is what we have to protect, is that child within, and allow it to discover and to create and to present in the most, honest and truthful way. Otherwise, we'll have no conscious expansion. And once you realize it's a gift from creation, it goes more in free flow. Whatever direction you've told, I don't know how long I'll be making masks for. I have no clue. But while I'm doing it, I realize I'm working with a gift. And gifts are to be shared. So that's sort of the principles that this is working around, and I'm having way too much fun with this. As far as the frustration with the other people, stuck in their free man or sovereign citizen idealisms, this seems to be like something that has given me a great balance between the two contrasts. And I would encourage everybody, we all have some form of imagination, is to take that and to present it. And that's the truth of you.
Are you like trying to work out or something?
Work out?
Yeah, why are you carrying that cross of frustration with other people around with you?
Yep.
Oh yeah, well that's what I'm letting go of right now, Ashok. I'm quite aware of it, and I know coming to the table, what I really like is the reflection I get from the table of the things that, are little hooks that I still have within me. You just mentioning that gave me a greater awareness to things I need to work on. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to make sure you were seeing that you were carrying extra weight.
Oh, yeah.
With you.
Definitely. And that's why I come to the table, because it makes it
frustrating. We can't be getting frustrated, can we? We all kind of realise that and understand where you're coming from there as well. But because there's no saviour program here. None of us can save anybody. We can only save ourselves. And you have, the outlet you have is your outlet for doing it. And, the same with musicians, or like you say, with writers or painters or all these things. These are things that are from creation. And, you're either a song catcher or you're not, or you're a word catcher or you're not, or you're a picture catcher or you're not, So we all have our own wee bits and pieces in the ways that we pass this message on. But we do need to remember, though, we can't save anybody. If somebody decides to do whatever it is they're doing, not to feel frustrated or, that we should help them. I mean, even heard you say about your own kids and that earlier. It's exactly the same with me and my family as well. And Shock said the same thing. But that's the way things go, isn't it? All things for a reason, And our job, passing this message, same as you do at these festivals with your masks and your losingm.com inside, is you're handing people their souls back, whether they get it that day, that week, that month, or the year later. It matters not. That the seed's been dropped and your job's been done. The message has been passed, and that's all we try to do for all of us. It is illegal to use a legal name. Losingm.com.
Yeah. Well, I find this as when I come to the table, it helps me to drop the programs that I've been running.
Yeah. And all of us.
Yeah, and to get a hold of yourself. I'm the area that I'm headed to is to be sort of like the thief in the night. Only I'm just planting a seed. I'm actually giving something, an idea, it's illegal to use the legal name. Plant the seed, and then you disappear.
Well, that's right. You just walk away, don't you? That's your job done.
Yeah, and there might be some sort of image or something else left behind, a hat, a mask, a drawing, a song that has that the seed planting method. And that's what I'm trying to narrow it down to. And in order to do this and to get myself ready for it, I'm going to be, calling into a lot of the tables and presenting so that I can see the programs that I'm still running, because I've never found anything like these tables to reflect back to a truth. I've had nothing but, just like gratitude. Whether it's being yelled at or bitch slapped by Kate, it has always turned around when you look at it, is reflecting light on something that you need to let go of.
There's just different points of view, isn't it? It's all it's about, different points of view. And we're all in the same boat here. We're all fighting these programs day in, day out, every one of us. It doesn't matter what stage we're at with this stuff, that the programs are always still there, and you always have to be aware of them. That's why we're always constantly self-correcting, But another thing I would say to you is that to plan something is a bit of a script, and to, the less plans you make, the better, and you just go with the flow. You need to be random, because otherwise you're working outside creation, you see.
Oh yeah, and accept all things that go. As I'm driving around with no tags or anything else on my vehicles, I'm just going, well, I make it there, I don't. Whatever lesson comes up, it's delivered to me by universe, by creation. I'll work it out, as long as I work with that flow. And so
when you are going with the flow, and when you do stand in truth, the creation will look after you. So it's as simple as that. We're all protected by creation in that sense, Once you're, as long as you have that benevolence and you have that selflessness, not selfishness, and you're not trying to create things, instead of using creation, We're not the creators. Things are created through us,
Yeah, and we just have to be able to handle it. No expectations.
A big thing that I've tried to convey to a few of the people, like Bird and stuff like that, love that guy. Anyway, is overthinking things is a self-inflicted migraine when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
Because, you get caught in this... We all know everyone here is a smarty pants, all right? So... getting caught. Yeah, just don't get caught in that net of yourself. Oh, what if I do this? Oh, what if I do? Yeah, don't do that. It's just another program, another cycle of trying to outcreate creation by thinking about stuff. And like I've had times where, like right now even, I have no idea what I'm going to say next, but I'm going with the flow, and it just comes out because I allow it to. I allow things to take their natural course, and when you do that, you'll see. And I know you're getting rid of some of the programs right now and stuff, but I'm saying just flow with it, and it will come out exactly how it needs to come out. There is no right or wrong. If people don't take the message the way that you convey it, it doesn't matter, because legal name for our truth always reappears when you deny it. So if they don't hear it from you, then they're going to hear it from someone else. It's going to keep reappearing in their life until they get the concept. That's why everyone getting this who needs to get it, it's inevitable that they will.
Well, it's like little fractals appearing over and over again in a synchronicity. And once you see something enough, it has your attention. And I believe there's enough going on right now that the reason that we're all doing what we're doing is it's the prime time to plant. It's going to be a very interesting harvest, though. So that's what I have no clue what the harvest is going to look like.
And that's the thing. That's the beauty here, is it doesn't matter what it looks like.
Yeah,
it's not important. The important thing is that you stand in truth for yourself, and the things around you will conform to that standing. There's, not yielding for anything, not waiting to ask permission to go to the bathroom type of stuff. Do whatever you want to do, cause no harm, stand in that truth, and people will notice you for the vibe you put out. There are people that I couldn't even stand before that are coming to me asking me questions now and just trying to get where I'm coming from. And it's not like, it's not like I'm sitting. I did do a little class the other day talking about the legal name fraud for someone who INS came out and was trying to threaten to deport them back to the UK. Well, I told them so simply, if you're not that, I was like, they want to take a legal name and place it in a different book. So that's all they're trying to do. That's all they've ever been trying to do. So any threats coming from anybody in any direction, I don't care what it is. All the threat is somebody painting a negative picture for the future that nobody has experienced. So when people make all of this stuff up, all of these scare tactics, everything, and that's the throwing it away part. That's the letting go of it. It doesn't matter what someone else tells you is going to happen if you don't do this, that, or the other. It's what situation are you going to create for yourself to experience and see and learn something new, experience something new, and that is for you. Now, if you come to the table and share that experience, I can experience it vicariously through you, but it will never matter as much to anyone else as it will to you because you were the one who experienced it, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's as I look at this, I think it's been about a year since I've been listening to the main table, Kate of Gaia. I don't even know if I should name it one of the tables. Let's put it that way. The progression that's going on, both in my understanding of the concepts being presented, plus the table itself and its expansion, is really, really fascinating. It's very, very wonderful to watch. So,
well, that's the difference. That's the difference now, is that you're not only watching, now you're a part of it. So when, this is where you're able to do the upheaval of all of the delusions here, is that you are actively destroying a lie. And when you see that for yourself, that's why I sit back and laugh at a lot of things these days, because the lie's already destroyed. I don't have to do anything, I will do it because I want I want this whole world to, I want the lie, the delusion, legality, I want that to crumble. But it's going to happen in its own time, and I'm not going to control the pace of that. I'm just kicking back, relaxing, and watching the walls fall.
Well,
we only do things because we're playing. Because there is nothing to do. There's nothing for any of us to do. It's just a case of being aware. That's all it is. I do quite a lot of things in my days, in and out all day long, every day. But I do them to keep because I choose to, and I do it to play the game because it is quite funny, And that's the thing about it. It's you all of a sudden see this different world where you're going about laughing your head off constantly, And that's the difference between being in a program that's all doom and gloom, But yeah, we're all got our wee jobs to do here. We're all passing the message, and that's really the main thing. But I wouldn't mind a swap going to be at the festivals, though.
Well, I got a fun game going here. This one is I've been around to these places, and people are very relaxed and everything else, and very open, as compared to, let's say, living in a city in downtown. And it seems to be the best point to get people when they're at their recreational position, and they're just more fun. And a lot of creative people are at these things. They're hilarious. I'll try and get as much information for your viewing pleasure as much as possible as we go around. And part of it is to get a reflection back to me, so that I can be, coherently, some good feedback, so that I can adjust and be more effective, and fun. That's sort of my whole. Now that I've got a sort of let's see, what could you call you guys? Sort of a place to land in with the ideas and the experiences, and then it'd be able to expand on them and carry that out into the traveling around and association you have with other people. And
you're tapping into consciousness. That's what we're doing. We're instead of speaking to a program, if you're speaking to somebody that's actually conscious of what's going on, then it's as simple as that, isn't it? And then we can all give our own views on the way we see things, and that's what settles it all out. Like you say, it's something to bounce it off, Ken.
Well, yeah, and this is part of the fun is that, as I say, people are not in a work scenario when you're approaching them at a festival. They don't have a deadline to meet. They don't have, their work schedule or the paycheck. They've totally let that go behind, in my experience. And so they have the time to sort of loll around and mull over things a little more. And they do smoke a lot of pot out here, so that's a bit of an opener.
Yeah, well, that's it. That always helps.
I just had a really cool download. The people who you're able to talk to, how it's easier in the recreational state of, basically they're on vacation, and that's why it's so easy to talk to them, is that they're out of the sense of urgency of the rat race. I just got a cool download because when you get this stuff and you're no longer in that program, you're no longer running it, it is deleted from the internal computer that is your thought process, your brain. When that's gone, you are living the vacation.
Well,
you've vacated.
Exactly.
Yep.
Another type of intellect. They're not what I've noticed. Even people who are professionals and everything else, their intellect has been pushed aside, and there's an opening there. So let's party. So as I move along with this and everything else, I'm thanks very much. Talking to you guys, I can't help but be so appreciative of your, true intent. That's one thing about coming into these calls and everything else, is that you get the truth, and not something, to moldy-collie over you. And I'm not looking for somebody to compliment the masks. If you're seeing it, you were a part of the creation of it. That's the way I understand it. So it's a matter of sharing this journey, with others, because it's awful lonely if you don't.
Aye. Did he fall off, did he?
No, I didn't fall off. I just left some space
All
there.
right. All right. We need to remember as well that loneliness is a program as well, because this is the thing about being dependent on other people or programs or this or that, the next thing. That to truly connect with yourself inside, you need nothing else. You need no one else. This is the thing with the getting 100% control over emotions and things like that, is that you do need no one else. There is not such a thing as loneliness, once you really are truly there, It is a program.
It's all exterior, isn't it? Loneliness is the exterior concept. The
That's
interior
right,
concept, as I've said to people, is that why are you worried about being bipolar? I've often on occasion found myself to be octopolar and more.
Mm-hmm.
There's many aspects of our consciousness that we have laid in denial, or that are expressive and creative, that are just yearning to be a part of your creative process once you awaken to them. And so there's an unlimited ability within the imagination to create worlds, and you'll never be lonely there.
Well, what I do, and I don't really care, whatever you do is whatever you do. What I do, however, to make sure that I'm on the path and don't really leave that zero, is no matter what notion it has, even if the intent is good or evil, I don't care. If it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter, is that I just accept it. So if you have that vibe of loneliness, even in your mind for a second, accept that you felt that, move on, and just remember that you are here with us. Even when we're not talking, even if we've never shook hands, hugged, any of that stuff, it doesn't matter. Never been physically in your presence. We're all with each other at all times, and that's one of the bigger things that having this connectivity of this table really offers, is there is someone out there with you, no matter what the situation is. If you're in a cell alone, and this is something that helped me when I went to jail, is I have hundreds of thousands of whatever. I have all these people with me, so I just need to take it easy, relax, accept whatever comes, and try to find the silver lining, the fun, the humor in it. And I did. When I was in there, I was laughing at the cops on their faces. Yeah, I was laughing at the cops on their faces, because I saw all of the anger that they were trying to instill fear in me and stuff, and I was like, and I did a psych profile on the people when they tried to book me the first time, and I pointed out every little fractal that they were running, and they couldn't even look at me. They couldn't look me in the eye anymore. They were like, "Oh, it looks like someone's gonna have to go to the psych ward," and I was like, "Yes, can I talk to a psychiatrist right now?" Never brought it up again. So,
well, that's right, and this is what we need to remember as far as consciousness is concerned, is that we are all connected, we are all one. There is no such a thing as loneliness. That's a program that's in the brain. You mean to get in our hearts and out the brain. We all know what thought did, don't we? So the less you think, the better. You need to feel, and when you come across truth, you feel it. You don't think it. It's not in your brain, it's in your heart. And that's where it settles when you feel it and you know that it's true and you don't believe it. But we are all connected. There's not such a thing as loneliness. We are all consciousness. We are all one. We're all connected all together. We always are. So even though someone may feel that they're on their own somewhere or such and such, it's not really the case. They need to go inside and feel themselves, and they will then feel that attachment to others as well.
Well, isn't it about understanding the difference between loneliness and stillness?
Well, I don't know that the two things are any different. That the stillness, to put labels on something, it's kind of always quite difficult, isn't it, when you use either of these words? But it's about an inner knowing, isn't it? So I would just say the word knowing, because it really is the most important thing. And to believe something, remember, when you use the word believe, is to think. Well, both of those things mean you don't know. If you're thinking, you don't know. If you believe something, you don't know. When you know it, you know it. And consciousness is consciousness, and we are all one. We are all connected. All things are connected.
Yeah,
when we know that, we don't. We're not able to experience loneliness.
Well, I've just as the best I can in the living world is stillness to me is the point that when you're in motion and your monkey chatter is going, if you can go still and then choose with your imagination or consciousness when to move. And there seems to be a synchronicity that takes place when you can know when to go still and when to move. In other words, you're not going to react to something, you're going to take an action that is aligned with basically truth. Basically, just truth, period. And that's something that I started to reintegrate was you're never alone, but there's a good time to go still when you become too monkey-minded, and then you choose when to move. So that was sort of the concept behind how loneliness is sort of like I've been abandoned in my emotional field. That's how that word reacts with me. And so becoming aware of that, I had found out that just go still, breathe. The stillness reminds you to breathe, and then move from there. So I don't know if I explained that. Did that make sense?
Not really, but
a lot of things I say don't make sense because I haven't made the sense within myself.
As long as it makes sense to you, that's...
Exactly. If it makes sense to you, that's all that matters.
That's right.
And I strive to let go of everything except for the moment that you're in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only time is now.
Yep.
Yeah, great minds think alike, don't they? So that's why we always say the same things.
Yeah, let go. Yeah, and when you're able to be in the moment and unrelenting, like I said, the past is where it's at. The future, unless you have a DeLorean with a flux capacitor, you're not going to see that shit. So, don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past. You're here right now, and that cuts 99.9 repetin% of any of the monkey chatter. If you could just be here with us, be here.
Well, that's an art.
Right. And as long as you understand what you mean, that's all that really matters. Just like I was going to say what Chuck said, that's really all that matters, that you know yourself what you mean. It's difficult when we communicate with each other using words that are from the program, because then none of them make sense, do they? Unless we look at them in our own way and strip them apart and get phonetical on the things, But so this is the thing. It's really, we just need to know who we are. We need to know ourselves, and then we understand ourselves. We find some way or another of relating that over in such a way that everybody does get from where you're coming from and understand exactly what you mean. But it truly just really matters that you know who you are and you know what you mean, So I wasn't putting you down in any way with what you were saying. I kind of understood what you were saying, but, it didn't make an awful lot of sense to me, but a lot of things don't, do they,
Well, that's okay. It brings me more into the now when you do that.
Yeah. Well, you're right about the stillness. Maybe I would use the word quiet or something like that. We all use our own different kind of things. So yeah, I do know what you mean. I totally do know what you mean. But that's what it's about. Getting inside ourselves, getting a bit silent, and having that contact into consciousness itself. Into the connection with the creation. And that's what makes us all take the right path. And like Shock says a minute ago, that's what allows you to speak without thinking about anything, because the only time you start thinking is when you're trying to stop words coming out that you can see our programs.
Well, I guess my definition would be when the monkey chatter, and monkey chatter is words. When I know I'm in the now, I'm an image. I see images. I don't see words.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the place of, I would say, stillness for me. Is that there's a flow going on. Was somebody trying to get in there?
No, I was just saying, that's fine. That's exactly whatever suits any of us. It's the way we tell them, as it were. We've all got our own ways of telling them, but we're all saying the same thing at the end of the day, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We're all with each other here.
Being able to paint the pictures, and to be able to define them in your communication of that which you are sharing, and that's so it's all about imaging. The words get in the way.
Yeah.
Our communication right now is. I've always struggled with communication because of my dyslexia, and once I learned to see things both ways, then I could communicate, and I found it very, very frustrating because there's so many misunderstandings through this, system of language, and I see an opening in that now. And what's really presented, I look at, the legal name as being the threshold to opening you out to a much, much bigger world in the now, and not being so distracted by what's being said or spelled.
That's just the start of the spiritual journey, isn't it?
It's at first, I guess I'm trying to describe the undescribable of the experience you have when you finally let go of the legal name.
Yeah.
And as it unfolds, you get a little excited, and and then you want to tell whoever you can, and then of course you're presenting it to people, and your enthusiasm it may sound passionate or whatever, but it also, if somebody's in a program, it might sound like you're trying to sell them something.
Yeah, well, that's right, and that's where we have to be careful. We're just messengers, and we're not trying to sell anybody or push anything on anybody. I noticed that you said that earlier that you get a wee bit more forceful about the way you pass the message and whatnot, and that's what that's about. It's kind of almost like a savior program. It's like we all learn these things, and we've all been there, and we all are there, whatever situation. But this is the beauty of it. like you say, when we come to these tables and we discuss it and we can all see it our own ways, you know, and see it each other's ways, and therefore see the most advantageous way, you know, and the most truthful way, you know.
It looks like it's heading in the direction of being artistically subtle.
You know, in education, you're saying about being autistic and all this kind of stuff, or being, what do they call it? What was the word you used again from dyslexic?
Dyslexic.
Yeah. A couple of the younger people in my family have been hanged with as that, but the actual people that are tagged or labelled as dyslexic are actually the people that the state are frightened of, and they're aware that they're much more awakened because they're not falling for the trickery of the language and the spells and all this kind of stuff. So that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing.
Oh no, I've always looked at it as a positive. And the lesson I took from it was that when people have no expectations of you, there's a huge amount of pressure that no longer is laid on top of you. With school teachers and everything else and that. So I felt like I got this buy through school of just get them through, get them out of here.
I kind of got the idea that that's where you were coming from, but it was really for other people that are listening to this that are dyslexic, so that they can actually see that as well, you know. That's actually not something that's wrong with you, but something that's more right, as it were. Not that there's a right or wrong.
Well, it's something that you can work with if you do not take it as an insult of people not expecting of you. Yeah. And the expectations are what are killing us in a way that we try to outperform and compete and become better than others. So
you usually find dyslexic people are less likely to care what other people think anyway, and of course if we went about thinking what people thought, that's exactly what you're kind of describing there, you know. It doesn't bear the thought to think what somebody else thinks, you know. It's about knowing yourself, you know.
Well, it's the understanding you realize is that if, you know, they think you're dyslexic, from my viewpoint, they're emotionally dyslexic. And they have their emotions totally reversed. And that's what some of the blocks are, is about losing the legal name, is that they have an identity crisis going on. And that's pretty well it. You know, it's illegal to use a legal name. And it's sort of like, I'm very attached to that. You know, it's sort of like this shock, like you've just told them that there's some death in their family. And leave it at that, because some people are going through a trauma state when that sequence of words is put together.
Well,
and I think it's perfect.
Right.
It's like a jingle.
Aye. It is important when we pass a message to pass it. I mean, creation usually takes care of that, but we do need to pass it gently in some cases, and we have to be, if you like, economical with the truth, because people can self-harm through this realization because they feel so guilty and this, that, and the next thing. And of course, nobody has anything to feel guilty about. So yeah, it is about being gentle with the message, really, isn't it? We're just messengers. We need to be careful in passing that message that we don't cause harm, because then creation will kick our arses, you know. And that's why we can't. That's why we can't go around thinking we're teachers and, you know, and trying to advise people and all this kind of stuff, and try to get people to get the message and getting annoyed with them because they don't get the message and all that. We just have to realise it's got fuck all to do with any of us. Like, we're just messengers. We drop the seeds and we get to fuck. You let it get on with its own thing. You let it do its own thing. You let them get on in their own way. You let them get out the system in their own way, step by step, or just immediately. However they choose to do it, that's entirely up to them, isn't it? Just like we chose our way, you know.
I got another one.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the movie 300. When the Herald came to let him know to let Leonidas know that Xerxes wanted him to join his ranks and be a warlord of Greece. It wasn't. Why did he get kicked in the hole? It wasn't the message. It was the way it was delivered. He was being arrogant, insulted the queen, got kicked into the pit of death.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is
So when
Lucas
you
still
come-
on this call?
Someone else just dropped.
All right.
Whatever. But yeah, it's not just when you deliver the message, it's fact. It's factual. All right. So when you're talking about it, you don't gotta make it all starry-eyed. That's what annoys the hell out of me about people sometimes when they're, oh, and it's beautiful and rainbows and unicorns and sparkles and all this other bullshit. No, facts are it's illegal to use a legal name. It's copyright infringement. You're infringing on someone else's contract, third-party interloping, whatever. And if they want to get starry-eyed about it, by all means, that's up to them. If they want to get sad and depressed because they were a criminal and they just found out they've been a criminal, that's once again on them. Deliver the message. It's the same thing as a mailman handing you a letter. Now, is there any emotional attachment to the parchment that he just handed you? No. And that's how it should be with the legal name fraud. I mean, just hand him the information and walk away. LoseTheName.com. Bye.
1 plus 1 equals 2. There you are.
Yeah, because I've seen it so many times where people get caught up in this loop of, well, I tried to tell them, but then they didn't want to hear me. It doesn't matter if they want to hear you. They heard LoseTheName.com, yeah. They heard legal name fraud, yeah. Then what else do you need to be there for? Like, what else do you need to say to them?
Job done.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not about waiting around, for them to get it. The parents don't drop the kid off at school, sit next to them during the entire test, and make sure they got all the answers right before they take them home. They drop them off, they do their thing, they come get them later. So unfortunately, that's how it goes. But anyway, you get the point.
Right.
So yeah, you don't gotta hold someone's hand through this. You don't gotta baby them. You don't gotta change their diapers for them. It's illegal to use a legal name. LoseTheName.com. Have a nice day. There's no emotion there.
No, job done.
So
job's done then, and they can make up their own decision how long or however way they go about using that information. But at least it might help them stopping dropping off their kids at the indoctrination centre in the first place.
Yep. Yeah.
Because
saying those things is intro to personal responsibility from the first place, because you hear something and people that write stuff off without investigation because it's outside of the norm and it makes them uncomfortable because they have their little box that they've happily been living in. Well, that's their choice. Contrast presented, what they do with it, on them. Done.
Bye.
Game over. Exactly.
That's that. Simples.
Yeah, it's not our responsibility how deep they created their program. It's I guess what we have is in our own program, at least I did, was that you have to walk people through things when you give them the shock and awe.
Have to. No. Remove that. Have to. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't even have to.
That's exactly that whole sentence is about. Have to give them. It's all a program in yourself.
Yeah, you don't have
what I'm
to
noticing.
do anything.
I don't have to give them anything.
No, you said it.
Yeah, I just be a presenter and lay it on the table like the cosmic gesture would. Is that here's this? It's your choice.
Well, that's why I attach because I got called out. People were trying so hard to fight this. They were like, oh, well, once I find out about the legal name fraud, I feel this responsibility. And I attach responsibility with liability. So is it your responsibility to get the message to them? Yeah, it's up to you if you feel like it. But are you liable for whether or not they get it after they've heard anything? No. So are you responsible? No. See what I mean? It's about you. Right. It is about you and only you. Do you get it? Yes. Okay. Whatever you do with it from there on is on you. But you. It's about you. This whole thing is about you. It's not very, as selfish as people have been programmed to, be, that's an easy one to adapt to. Yeah, this is all about me. Yeah.
Well, it's the true you. And that's what we've become to realize in one another, that the one that we want to communicate with is the you in each being, because that's all connected.
Absolutely.
It's where you're talking about, I can only do this you can only do this for you. And you're right. The programming is, that's selfish. You're only going to do it for yourself. But on the programming side, pushing yourself on another person is actually a form of, admired to be able to be strong enough to overcome other people's freedom of choice. And that's the whole negative that we're seeing in it, is sometimes when we come at people with the most simplest thing, they take it as a form of aggression. And the more we can be artistic with this, which I see it coming, we've all got that ability, and this is what's unfolding next, is to be able to supply this information in the most unique and most responsible way, as you were saying,
simple way.
Yeah,
simple.
Yeah, just simple, because that's the beauty in art, the simplicity of it.
Yeah, exactly. And if they get it or not, that has nothing to do with you. See, that's what I'm saying. Because, like I said earlier about 300 and Leonidas and the Herald, is that guy knew he was being pompous. He came there with the intention to, I have the crowns and heads of other kings, and I'm the cocky asshole here. And when you come with that, not necessarily saying that trying to force whatever all this stuff onto people. I'm saying that when you come and you feel like you're being too aggressive with it, when you feel like you're going too far, that's when you need to drop it, walk away. And that's why I quashed that before anything ever like that ever happens. And from the very beginning, I realized that I'm just a mailman with the parchment to hand somebody, and that erases any and all emotional attachment to it that anyone could try to respond with. Because people do not listen with the intent to hear you these days. People listen with the intent to respond to what you're saying. So when you don't give them that option to respond, that you don't give them that whole debate thing, that path, that avenue to debate with you, you say losename.com, it's illegal to use a legal name, have a nice day. There is nothing for them to say back to that. And I know with all the programmed responses, they'd have to take a minute or two to cook something up to respond with anyways. Don't give them that minute or two. It's illegal to use a legal name, losename.com, and bye-bye. And that's it. You don't need to go any further. You don't need to retract from that. That's it. So when you're able to...
we have to be aware as well when we tell people these things. Is the only thing that doesn't want to accept is the ego, for it to be pointed out that they've done wrong and that they're causing harm by supporting a system that thrives on death. So it's a bit of a shock to a lot of people's systems, and that's like you say, we're just like postmen, we're just messengers. We don't have any emotional attachment to this stuff. We just here's some information, have a nice day, bye, and it's as simple as all that, isn't it? It doesn't get any simpler a message to pass than this message. Losename.com, it's your name's crime copywritten. It's so simple that there's so very little to say, But we need to always be very, very conscious that we're not trying to be saviours and trying to force the information on people and get annoyed because they didn't get it quick enough and all this kind of stuff, because that's you trying to be a new program, So we need to be completely 100% neutral to all this stuff, and as long as we know it, and as long as you pass on the message, it needs to be left for them to deal with the message and the way they choose to do it, But certainly not to be getting, a bit aggressive or apprehensive with people because they're maybe not getting it, or because they've got hundreds of questions and all this kind of stuff and all that. Because we know that they really need to ask themselves these questions, and it's just a kind of knee-jerk response to what you've said to them, because it's put like a big electrical shock bolt through their system,
You know what I like? I like the Rohan approach to this. He's out in Milwaukee, and what he'll do is he'll put losename.com on a bunch of little tiny pieces of paper, and he'll just walk around and drop it on the ground. So he's literally dropped it, and it is their choice for them to pick it up.
Well, that's right. That's a brilliant way, isn't it?
That's a good one.
Kind of like I do. I like planting these seeds as much as, like, sort of random as I can. If I'm going to put it in a bank, I won't hand them to the bank teller. I'll just put it somewhere so that they see it first thing in the morning when it's open, and if they pick it up, it's their intent. You know, I like planting the seeds on random cars or wherever I see that, like, I feel needs them, but keeping it random and keeping myself not attached to it, because you don't have to be attached to the outcome. There's no responsibility in waking people up. I'm just planting seeds, spreading the message.
Spreading the message, that's all we're all doing, isn't it? And it's a beautiful message to spread, and we're really just giving people access back to their souls, you know, or their spirit, and that's really the beautiful thing about it.
My experience...
Well, we've got just about 7 minutes till the end of the show, and that is just enough time to play Mystic Renaissance's Enough Oppression. So you hear that end of the show.
That's brilliant.
Perfect.
Yep.
All righty. All of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Legal Name Fraud, the Roundtable.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.